This video was made possible by our generous supporters on Patreon. Check out patreon.com/NWR for all the details. Hello and welcome to episode 148 of the Talk Nintendo podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Casey Gibson, and joining me tonight, not as always, but it's always a pleasure when he's here, reviews editor and Thirsty Mage regular, Jordan Rudek.
Hi, Casey. I've decided I'm just going to replace Perry from now on, so sorry to everyone from Talk Nintendo land out there, but you're not going to be seeing Perry anymore.
Can you hear all the cheers? Yeah, the crowd goes wild.
I guess I'm gonna have to learn what a Cornhusker actually is.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think, like, what could we do for you?
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of vegetables you Canadians like. I know you like hockey.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you're the Metropolitan. Perry's the Cornhusker. I don't know. We'll come up with something maybe by the end of the episode. I like carrots, but that has nothing to do with Canada. So.
You could probably go a million different directions with that one. But
yeah.
But yes. So Perry is not here today, and it actually sort of marks a milestone. I believe this will be the first episode without Perry or myself on it at all. He couldn't make it because something sprouted up, and that thing that sprouted up was a baby. That's Perry
right.
has a baby little girl now. He is officially a father as of, I believe it was, yesterday as of recording.
Mm-hmm.
So a huge congrats to Perry. We're wishing him the best with everything that's going, that is entailed with having a baby. Jordan knows a little something about that, I believe.
I mean, the height of all irony, Case, would be if I have to leave halfway through this podcast for the exact same reason. So, fingers crossed here. My wife's also expecting, so we're kind of in the same boat as Perry. Maybe have to run to the hospital sometime soon. So we'll see what happens. But
yeah, I might be wrapping this podcast up solo, or I'm gonna have to have a baby to join the group.
There you go.
But make sure everyone to go over and wish Papa Pert a big old congrats on Twitter. I'm sure he'll love it. So the show goes on as it always does. We never miss a week, even if Perry's having a baby.
Honestly, Case, that's a pretty amazing accomplishment that through almost 150 episodes that at least one of you guys has been on every episode. I think that's pretty great. So, congrats to you guys too. Like, that's a really good accomplishment.
Well, thank you. Now I can officially say I'm the last survivor,
That's right.
Yep. We all knew Casey was the better half of Talk Nintendo podcast, but now it's pretty much official.
You've never missed one yourself? You've been 148? You've been there?
I've been there. There have been ones where, like, one of us has to go early or, or is there for only a part of the show. But yeah, my voice has graced every single Talk Nintendo podcast episode, and Perry's up to this point, so...
If Perry didn't have a baby, I think I would say that he's just avoiding me at this point, because I think the last episode we recorded, he also left halfway through. So, Perry, if you listen to this and you don't want to talk to me anymore, dude, just, send me a DM or something. Like, let me know. Let's talk this out.
You don't have to have a baby to avoid Jordan,
That's right.
man.
Yeah. It's simpler than that. Just tell me to go away. It's okay.
Well, now he's got 18 years of excuses, right?
That's
right.
Nope, that's right.
Got the baby.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, but... as I said, we've got a nice little episode here. We're going to be talking about a bunch of great games, and one I am super stoked to talk about. But before we get into that, I've got a little quick bite here, and this is a quick bite on a quick bite. So today, over on Twitter, I think it was Estuardo and Josh were talking about breakfast burritos, and I'd mentioned I had never had one, which is weird because I love both breakfast and I love burritos. So you'd think, a marriage made in heaven, right? Well, I happened to get home today, and I haven't really eaten all day, and I was like, man, I need to eat something before this podcast starts. And there's a Sonic that just happens to be around the corner from me. So I went and I got the ultimate meat and cheese breakfast burrito. So
now,
that
Case, is this one of those burritos that you can eat like any time of the day, or are they only serving that at breakfast?
No, I I guess Sonic serves breakfast all day, so it is on the menu all day. Yeah, it's 5 p.m. Eastern time is when I got this bad boy. It's got a, let's see, crispy bacon, savory sausage, golden tots, fluffy scrambled eggs, and melted cheddar, all wrapped up in a tortilla. And oh, baby, it was good. It was good. I would have it again.
This podcast is truly becoming Talk Nintendo, because last week you were talking with Mick, and I know you guys were you brought up a bunch of you brought up a PS4 game, or I guess Apex Legends is crossplay, or it's on all the platforms except for Switch, and there was that Diablo game you were talking about last week as well. So I guess anything goes when Perry's not here, baby.
Yeah. The reins are gone. Yes, we can do what we want. My only beef with this burrito would be that. I feel like alone it's not enough. Like for right now it was perfect, right? I just needed something quick to eat. I feel like I would fall into the trap of ordering mozzarella sticks, and I almost did, or like the cheddar poppers.
Oh yeah, okay. You need some kind of side dish with it or something.
Yep, and then all of a sudden, then you're spending $10, $11, you know. So I don't know. It's one of those situations, but nevertheless, very good. Yeah, who knew that replying to that tweet would net me a breakfast burrito today.
I did see that conversation on Twitter, and I was going to pop in, but the problem is, like, I think I would like burritos too. I've had one or two, in my whole life. But burritos and cheese are kind of synonymous with each other, and cheese is something I stay away from now. Really bad lactose intolerance over here. So
you poor son of a gun.
I know, it sucks. Honestly, like, as a kid growing up, I didn't really eat cheese. I ate like cheese on pizza, and that was pretty much it. And then, when I got into my 20s, like, I started maybe having a little bit more cheese, and I think Doritos, like, nacho cheese flavor was one of those, like, hey, like, this kind of cheese is really good. Like, I don't just need to have cheese on pizza. So I discovered cheese a little bit later in life, or like maybe an enjoyment of it. Parmesan cheese, all different kinds, but I guess nothing too crazy. But anyways, as soon as I started really liking it, I can't actually have it anymore. So that kind of sucks. But I'm glad you found a burrito that you like, though.
Dude, that is like this. I would not wish that upon my enemies, man. Not to be able to enjoy cheese. It is. Woo!
I mean, I'll be honest. There were times when I was, I guess, first figuring out that I was lactose intolerant. That I'm like, man, this sucks. Like, a lot of my favorite foods, like. I would have milk with cereal, ice cream, stuff like that. Like, oh, you can't really have those anymore. So now I'm trying to find substitutes. Like, they are, I don't know what it's like in the States, but in Canada, they're coming up with a lot of dairy products made with like almond milk or coconut milk or soy milk and stuff like that. So the cheeses, I think, are a little bit off. Like, I haven't really tried a bunch of the non-dairy cheeses. But, like ice cream or like milk and cream for coffee and stuff, like, it's actually pretty decent.
Interesting. Yeah, I was going to say, like, so do you just not eat pizza anymore? Or do you only get, like, the specialty slices, that, like a chicken and broccoli that doesn't really have any cheese on it?
I mean, this is what I do. I think we might be having pizza tonight for dinner, actually.
I buckle down.
Yeah, we, no, I can't. Like, it's really bad. I would be in a lot of pain. So what I do is, if I get pizza, I just throw on a bunch of toppings, like a bunch of meats and stuff like that, and I just don't get cheese on it. And, it's kind of like it's more like a pizza bread at that point, I guess. But, it's fine. It does the job. It's not quite the same, but, you're still getting that dough, that nice crust, and all your favorite, like, sausage, bacon, stuff like that. So it's a decent substitute, even if it's not exactly the same thing.
Oh, man, like, no mozzarella sticks, dude. I feel like...
Casey, I've all the things you're feeling right now. Like, I've gone through them all, and I've kind of I've made my peace with it. It's okay.
Yeah, I feel miserable over here, man. Way to bring down the podcast.
Yeah, sorry, dude. You were bringing it up with that burrito too. So, oh no.
Oh man. Okay, why don't we move into some games we've been playing? And you want to kick us off with a recent DLC that absolutely looks wonderful.
Yeah, sounds good. Extra recent because I was playing it just before we hopped on here, and that's the Messenger DLC. So the Picnic Panic Messenger DLC. Messenger came out last year. It's kind of like a Ninja Gaiden, action platformer type game. It's got cool kind of movement abilities where you jump and you slash your sword, and then you get to jump again. So you can kind of float around. There's a lot of kind of acrobatic movement you have to do. Some really cool boss fights. The Messenger is a really good game that came out last year. I think it's on sale right now. People should definitely take a look at that or pick it up. So on Thursday, July 11th, the Messenger got a free DLC update. Like I said, Picnic Panic. It's kind of a summer-themed one. You go to like a separate island from the main game. And the way you get to the island, you kind of ride on like a surfboard type thing, and you fight like an octopus boss. So it starts off pretty fun. It's not super long for those who have played the base game. It probably only takes a couple of hours, but it is really, really challenging. It's definitely harder, I think, than anything in the base game. There's I don't know if I'm getting into spoiler territory here. I'm going to kind of talk about it a bunch. So if you guys, if you're interested, I'll maybe save some spoiler stuff for a bit, and then I'll just kind of talk about my feelings about it. It's really fun. I got stuck at a couple of points because it's really challenging, really tough. It does some different things where it's not just kind of the standard gameplay from the base game. There is kind of a relay type race thing where you're trying to race against this dark messenger figure. There's a really tough boss fight about maybe halfway through the DLC. The platforming and the moving around that you have to do. You kind of go inside a volcano, and there's a lot of kind of vertical movement, kind of scaling. After going back down, coming out of the volcano to kind of scale it again. Some really tricky jumps and stuff you have to do. Casey, you played the Messenger last year, I think, when it came out. How did you find it?
I liked it a lot. So this was actually a game we saw at PAX, and it was one of those, like, we instantly knew, like, okay, this game is going to be good, right? Like, it feels really good. I love how it sort of shakes it up, right? The first half of the game is sort of like a beat 'em up almost, right? And then all of a sudden, then it gets into a more like, hey, Metroidvania, you're going to be sort of traversing all around.
Yeah, there's a lot of backtracking in the original game after you kind of unlock all your powers, right?
Yeah, and that's generally, I don't, you know me, Metroidvanias aren't my favorite type of game. So I didn't actually beat the original game. I got to that halfway point where it switched it up, and then I ended up playing, I don't know how much longer after that, and then it just sort of ended up to the wayside, if you will. But I was actually wondering, so with the DLC itself, is it sort of structured similarly, or is it sort of like, hey, it's like you beat the game, or whatever, you've progressed far into the game, and it's just sort of a continuation where you're still going to be flipping the two styles of play in the Metroidvania style?
Yeah, so there's a couple things worth mentioning here. So you still get that the flipping between the 8-bit and the 16-bit styles. They're still using puzzles and kind of things you have to solve using that mechanic in the game. The music is still really, really good. There's some new tracks here by the same guy who did the music in the base game. And the Messenger's, one of the great soundtracks from last year, absolutely. So some really good songs here. It's not long enough such that it has like a Metroidvania component. It's very much similar to the first half of the base game, where you're kind of just going from left to right or up and down through different areas. Just trying to get from A to B, I suppose. There's lots of save points, lots of checkpoints until kind of maybe in the second half or the last third of the DLC, where they make you do a lot before you get to a new save or checkpoint. So yeah, that can make it kind of frustrating too. You're likely to die. I died a lot playing this one, but I think part of that was that I hadn't played the base game for such a long time, right? I played that last year, finished it, enjoyed it, and then when they announced this DLC, I was just looking forward to it. So I think we've been waiting a little bit for this Picnic Panic content to come out. It's finally here. To access it, though, it's a little bit tricky / unfortunate. You have to have beaten the base game first to access this. You cannot go to it unless you've beaten the base game. And there's another little wrinkle there, and I'm not 100% sure that this is going to affect everybody. But my understanding is if you beat the Messenger last year, you have to beat the final boss again to access the DLC. So even if you completed the game last year, your checkpoint, kind of where your last save would be, is right outside the final boss room. You must beat the final boss again to access the DLC.
That is so weird.
It's really
so
weird.
So you had to beat the boss again?
I did, and that took me a little while. So I kind of started off on a bad foot, I guess. Kind of a little bit disgruntled, like, I don't have a lot of time. I just want to check out the DLC quickly. Nope, you gotta fight the final boss again. And obviously I was really rusty, right? I hadn't played the game in like at least 6 months. So I pick it up, and like the boss is giving me a lot of trouble because I'm kind of trying to relearn all the mechanics and stuff, and figure out my timing. And so it took me a little while. Probably took me about 10 or 12 tries. I finally beat the final boss of the base game, and then I was able to jump into the Picnic Panic content. So that's a little bit unfortunate. However, it sounds like I heard from some people on Twitter that if you beat the game this year, so I guess in 2019 for some reason, or maybe there was a patch or some kind of update, right?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe there was some sort of patch that it didn't register that you had beaten it, if you beat the boss and then download the patch kind of thing.
Yeah, they might have had a patch kind of setting up the DLC so that the game would check that, oh, you've beaten it, okay, you can go right to the DLC. So I think if you beat it in 2019, you can jump right into the DLC without doing the final boss twice or something like that. So I guess your mileage may vary depending on how easily you can access the content, but those are the two situations I've heard about, one that happened to me and one I kind of heard anecdotally. So it's a little bit tricky to get into maybe, but once you do, it's really fun. Again, it's got this kind of beach or tropical theme to it, and then this volcano that you're scaling, which is again a really, really tough section. Just gonna get into spoiler territory a little bit here. Case, I hope you're okay with that.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of story to it, but so about maybe a third of the way through, 40% of the way through, you fight a boss. The boss is kind of looks like a totem pole, sort of. He's kind of these stacked blocks of like animal figures, one on top of the other, and the only one that is vulnerable to your attacks is the top one. So the boss kind of like shifts the blocks and throws them at you, and has all these different attacks where you have to kind of jump on the various parts of the totem pole to get to the top so you can slash away at the head of it. And it's really tough. It took me a bunch of tries. It's got 3 kind of separate phases. Really requires a lot of patience, a lot of strategy to beat that one. Funny enough, that's kind of the only boss of the game. I seem to remember the base game having a lot more boss encounters. This is really the only one that you fight in the DLC. After that, you do a little bit more platforming, more action segments, maybe another hour of content or so, and then you get to this race against a Dark Messenger who's summoned by this devil, I think he was one of the final bosses in the base game. I don't really remember his name. He summons this Dark Messenger, and you have to race through these different stages to be the first to 5 wins. And oh man, this is one of the hardest things I've played in 2019. It took me so many tries. I had basically given up until this afternoon when I'm like, you know what? I've probably tried this like 30. I've probably gone 30 or 40 times here. I'll do one more. I'll do one more before the podcast because I want to talk about it and see if I can beat it and get a little bit more done. So I did it one more time. I finally beat him. You have to play almost perfectly to win this relay race. The different stages have kind of a different layout, different movements, different patterns you have to do to beat him. Finally did, and it turns out that that's almost the end of the game. Because after this relay race part, you find the devil guy who has kind of collected these little kind of puffy circle. They almost look like Kirby's. He's kind of captured them, I guess, on this island. And that's kind of the whole drive for you visiting the island and going through it as you're trying to rescue these guys. So you find the devil guy, and then hilariously, of all things, you get into a fight where he becomes giant, and you team up with these they're guys from the base game. They're the ones wearing cloaks. They got the kind of the black faces. I don't remember what they're called. Like the shopkeepers, maybe, for example.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
They team up with you, and you become supersized as well. You become like a supersized shopkeeper. I'm kind of thinking like Power Rangers here, where the monster gets giant, and then the Power Rangers summon like the Megazord, and you get into this fight, and it's a boxing match. And it's basically just Punch Out. Like it's like NES. It's like NES Punch Out. And
That's
that's
amazing.
the final boss. That's the final boss of the DLC, I believe. Unless I missed something, you do a kind of a punch out type 3-round fight with the final boss. So with this devil guy. So that was just kind of a hilarious twist ending to the game. Like it's not a very standard boss fight at all. So that was a lot of fun actually. Just kind of it wasn't all that difficult. If you've played Punch Out, it's pretty straightforward. But just a fun thing to see at the end there.
I was gonna say classic, right? Like, oh, I can't beat this. You put it down for a day, come back and one shot it. Is like, I feel like that always happens, right?
We've all been there, yeah. I mean, it was my first try as well. Like I wasn't like, oh, I figured something out. It was just like almost total randomness or something, right?
You just needed that rest, man. You need to sleep on it.
I guess that's what it is. Just coming back to something fresh does really work sometimes, especially in video games.
Now,
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say you're saying it's very difficult, right?
Yeah.
Sort of more difficult than the base game.
Yes.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like, is it frustratingly annoying? Where you're sort of like throwing your hands up, like feeling almost unfair, or was it a nice challenge and had you sort of beaten the game and went right into the DLC, maybe it might have felt a little easier, like you said, where you didn't have to knock the rust off, or...
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, the last thing you said, where if I had gone right from the base game and maybe like I left the game for a couple weeks or a month or something, rather than like 6 to 8 months, I think I'd probably be okay, but I was just I guess maybe I was just so rusty and so not familiar with all the, how to play the game well after, playing 10 hours of the game last year and then to come back into it with I've forgotten that muscle memory and stuff like that. And there is some tricky platforming. There's the mechanics for controlling the messenger are not all that easy, right? It is a little bit more advanced of a game. So I think that, yeah, part of it is that. I think the relay race thing is maybe a little unfair because what happened to me, I'm not sure if this is programmed into the game, but I would get him down to where I only need to win one more race. And for whatever reason, he'd switch on turbo mode and he'd just be blowing me out of the water. As soon as I make a single small mistake, I've got no chance to beat him, and he's way ahead of me in the stage. So I don't know.
Yeah, you need like a flawless run.
Pretty much. I don't know if it's catch-up logic where it's trying to get it so like it's 4-4 and it's do or die. I don't know. The do or die stage is, I mean, it's the one I guess I think you have to win that one to beat him or something like that, but it's all vertical. There's no left to right movement, so you're just slashing like the lanterns and you're going straight up like a volcano kind of setting.
That's pretty cool.
And it looks neat, but man, it's brutal, and I beat him just by the skin of my teeth. So yeah, I think it's probably okay. I think it maybe could be, maybe a little bit easier. I think that it's, compared to the base game, I think it's a sizable jump. And for people that haven't played it in a long time, I think they could get frustrated with it. So I'm kind of halfway between like fun challenge and a little too frustrating. So
maybe that's why they make you replay the final boss. Just knock the rust off here, so you're ready to go for the DLC.
I was thinking about that as well, and that's not a bad point. But the problem is, a lot of the challenge from the DLC doesn't come from boss fights as much as it comes from just the moving through the levels and knowing the timing of your jumping and slashing at the lanterns and when to do a double jump and stuff like that. So yeah, that could be, and I think that does help. Fighting the final boss again in the base game does help with the single boss you fight in the DLC. But there is a lot more of that movement that's also really tricky too. So. Yeah. Overall, it's free DLC. It's really hard to complain about free content they give you on top of an already awesome game. So if you haven't checked out the Messenger, please do that. It's really fun. And if you feel like you want a little bit more of a challenge, you want to spend a little bit more time with the game, hey, they give you a free DLC pack with a couple of extra hours of fun. So.
Yeah, you can never complain about free DLC, especially when it's sizable.
Yeah,
I hate, free DLC and it's like a costume, It's like, that's
yeah.
cool.
Or they give you like a new weapon or a new item or something. But this is actually like a new stage, a new area, right?
And perfect for the summer. I wonder if they had finished it, you know what I mean? It was like, well, we gotta wait for like a midsummer release. Yeah,
I mean, I think that there's part of it is like that. Like, yeah, this is a really good time. It's not super busy with bigger games, and it is a summer
it's not September.
Theme. September's just nuts, and it seems to get worse every time I look at the schedule of games coming out. I was gonna say one more thing. God, I've totally forgotten here. The messenger. No, I've lost it. Let's keep going.
Well, if it sprouts back up,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to jump in there.
No problem.
Well, yeah, the DLC for the Messenger, like I said, I definitely love the aesthetic. Very, like you said, the summer vibes. You're on the beach, a lot of turquoise for the ocean, that nice blue. Yeah, it looks really cool and definitely a really fun game. So, yeah, it's funny. I downloaded the patch or whatever because, I was on the eShop, and now I won't be able to play it.
I remember what I was going to say. I was going to tease something about the DLC. There seem to be some hints in the DLC about future content. And I don't know if that means DLC or a sequel. And I'm not going to say any more than that, but it is a neat thing to go through the Picnic Panic DLC and see, maybe they're planning on doing more of this. And I think the game did pretty well, so it wouldn't surprise me. And I would love to see a sequel to the Messenger or something else like that. So, yeah, there is some hints in there.
I hope they go the sequel route. I just feel like sometimes, especially all right, you already released a pretty nice big DLC for free. Don't get caught in the Shovel Knight where it's we've released 6 different games but they're all Shovel Knight, but they're all different and they're all free. You know what I mean? I just feel like it muddies the water a little bit, and it's just move on to the sequel, boys.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that too. I'm working on a feature. I've already kind of typed out a draft for a feature on Shovel Knight, and the fact that it was kickstarted and how the kind of Kickstarter has almost made them forced to keep doing more. Maybe if it wasn't a Kickstarted game and it just got funded by Nintendo or someone else, another publisher, that they would have maybe moved on to a sequel by now, and we wouldn't have had the extra character DLC pack. So, I'm still working on that. I'm kind of trying to time it with release of the King of Cards DLC. So hopefully we'll hear about that soon. I can't imagine that's going to slip out of this year. It's already been delayed a couple times, or I know they've sent out
I feel like it's been a while.
So it has. We've seen that before. It was at PAX West last year. And
the year before that,
right? Yeah, and it's been playable, and I don't know. What are they waiting for? I want that DLC to come out because I want to see what their next game, from their actual team.
We are ready to see. Yeah, I wonder. I hope that it's sort of one of those things where they've been working on something sort of alongside it. So once they're done with that, they can shift gears, and then all of a sudden, maybe within a year, you see a brand new release, whether that's a sequel or just a completely new style of game or something.
Yeah, it just depends on how big their team is, and maybe that's the reason why the last 2 DLC things have taken so long, is because they've been working on them at the same time as something else. So they don't want to have a big gap, right? They don't want to have more than 2 years, I think, or 3 years where they're not releasing a new game. Because you've got all this goodwill from the Shovel Knight games that everyone is clamoring to see what they're doing next. So
come on, Yacht Club.
Yeah.
Give us the goods.
I love what they do, and it's certainly not a situation of wanting to rush them, but I just feel like the Kickstarter kind of hamstrung them a little bit. So, eager to see what they're going to do next.
Yeah, good on them for following through, though, instead of just being nah, we're going to just charge a bunch of money for these, you know what I mean? And I know they've re-released them and stuff. I bought it for Switch, right when it first came out, so I'm pretty sure that includes all the free DLC and stuff. So
it does. Even the ones that haven't come out, you're going to get King of Cards and the fighting one, the fighting game, or the Smash Bros. Style one.
I didn't realize that was part of the DLC as well.
My understanding is that all of that is going to be free if you have the Treasure Trove Shovel Knight pack that you bought, kind of when it first came to Switch, I guess.
Yeah, that was in my, oh my god, Nintendo Switch, I'm buying everything.
Oh, it came out they were actually really smart to release that basically at launch of the Switch, right? That was very clever. So obviously everyone was playing Zelda, but if you wanted something smaller, hey, the Shovel Knight Treasure Trove is right there. And I think it was close to the release of the Spectre Knight campaign as well. It was around the same time, maybe a little bit later.
Yeah. It was super early because it might have even been a launch title.
Yeah, I think it was.
Because like I said, I'm pretty sure I was in that well, I've already spent all this money, what's another $20,
Yeah, exactly.
When you're in that, whatever.
And knowing that there's more content to come still, too, right? That if you buy it now on Switch, whatever come what may, you're still going to get the King of Cards expansion when that comes out. So.
And I'm pretty sure I never even played it.
Is that right?
Yeah. Well, because I played through... I know I've beaten Shovel Knight a handful of times. I've beat Plague Knight. I really like that one. And then Spectre was after that,
Spectre
right?
Knight. Spectre Knight's the third and most recent one. Yeah.
All right. So I don't think I know I didn't beat Spectre Knight. I think I might have played a little bit of it, but that might have also just been at PAX. But
we accidentally made a perfect segue away from our Messenger DLC because Spectre Knight actually plays very much like the Messenger does. He has like this dash move that if you attack somebody or you attack like a lantern, he kind of dashes upward, right? So that's kind of his movement quirk. Is this very similar one to the Messenger?
Okay, yeah, I have played that because now I'm like it's coming back to me. I don't think I beat it though.
Yeah, I really like that one.
I really like how they all play so drastically different. You know what I mean? Like they could have just reskinned it, right, and been like, oh well, we added like one world that sort of really capitalizes on the one person, the one knight's kind of ability. But
that's why it's hard to fault them because they've put so much care and attention to detail in each DLC. They have not mailed it in at all. Like they're all very different. They're all kind of change the environment in unique ways. Different music. Like they do a lot of different stuff. And I think the cool thing about King Knight, hopefully coming soon, is that I think he plays a little bit like Wario from like the Wario Land games.
Ooh, big and husky.
Yeah, he's got like a kind of a dash or a charge attack like Wario does, I believe. I'm not 100% sure about that, but hopefully we'll get that soon.
Well, speaking of something we've already gotten, and you've been playing this for a while because you did the review for the website.
That's right.
And I picked it up on launch day, which was Friday. About a week ago. Oh, baby. Dragon Quest Builders 2. Woo-wee! My goodness, dude. This seriously might be like my game of the year so far.
I've thought the exact same thing, Casey, and I've been trying to think like what else have I played. It's probably the best game I've played so far. Like it's certainly the game that I've had the hardest time putting down this year so far, I would say.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So so Dragon Quest Builders, obviously this is the sequel to the original that came out 2 years ago. Maybe it was early 2018.
No, I don't think it was last year. It was either 2017 or 2016.
All right, well, it wasn't 2016 because the Switch wasn't out. So yeah, we'll go with 2017. Yeah, the follow-up. Now, the second has been released in Japan for quite some time, but it's finally made its way over. And this it's a Minecraft-esque world, right? Everything's in like that. The box, like all blocks, and you can chip away at things and you build things up. And obviously, it's very inspired by Minecraft, except it's got like a nice plot to push it forward, right? Now, I haven't played a ton of Minecraft, but there isn't really a story, right, for the most part?
Not that I know of. I've probably played less than an hour of Minecraft, and it's just not for me. It's too
open-ended.
There's too much freedom. Like I'm not all that creative in terms of building stuff. I need direction. I need blueprints, and I don't. Maybe Minecraft has that, but I never looked into it enough to see if it does. So yeah, I'm not sure if there's a story. Maybe people have built one into it. And I know there's the Telltale Minecraft games, which obviously have a story to them, but yeah, I'm not sure about the base game.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me. It's like the idea of Minecraft is really awesome. Like, oh, you get in there and you can do whatever you want and build all these cool things. And of course, you're perusing on Reddit and you see like these crazy screenshots of like, yeah, we've got 30 people on our server and we come in and we build these insane buildings, and like when you zoom out they look like, you know what I mean, like, oh my god, you can't even tell this is Minecraft, and then all of a sudden you go in and you're like, Jesus, it's crazy.
I mean, we've seen people do stuff like, they've made Midgar from Final Fantasy VII in Minecraft. They've made the pyramids from Egypt. They've made Peach's castle. Like they've made all these ridiculous things. Like, hats off to all these people that are super creative and maybe very good kind of visually, spatially able to put that stuff together. But yeah, I've just never really been like that. And it's always, I guess it's just a game that I've always kind of maybe admired a little bit, and certainly admired the people who play it. But yeah, never really been my bag.
Yep. Yeah, so that was, for me, it was like, okay, Dragon Quest Builders, I played like I played like 5 minutes of the demo or whatever, maybe a half hour of the original, and then just whatever happened, it went to the wayside. I never picked it up. But I know 2 was sort of like, all right, like, we've got a good game here, and they've built upon it to make it even better, more accessible, and just more fun, right, was the impressions we were getting. And I'm like, okay. I was potentially going to be on the review for this site, and then I'm like, you know what? I feel like I should not do this because it's a genre I want to like, but I generally don't, and then I'm going to find myself stuck playing this super long game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, for a review that I'm not enjoying. But as the weeks led up to launch, I was like, oh, all right, I think I'm going to pick this up. And I'm sure glad I did, because like you said, I'm not the most creative person. When you give me these huge open worlds, I can do whatever the heck you want. It's like, well, it's like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, what the heck am I going to do? So I was like, all right, get in there. And this story starts going, right? You're on the ship, and you're like the tutorial area. You're on the ship, and you're a captured builder, because builders are bad people. In the Children of Aragon, right?
That's right. Yep.
They want to destroy the builders. They want to destroy everything. So everyone's like converted into this religion, and so like the builders are bad news. You don't want to associate with the builders. But it's so funny. Like these monsters have you captive, and they're like, oh, like come on, like do us jobs. Like we love you. Like they seem very friendly. You know what I mean?
It is a really funny opening, actually, where they do a good job of blending a tutorial where you're learning gameplay with story, right? That you learn about the background of the world, and that builders are they've kind of been banned, or they've been all kind of captured or destroyed or whatever, and you're one of the last ones remaining in this world, maybe. But yeah, they still want you to build stuff for them. I guess that's part. Yeah, again, it does help you learn the game, and it's part of that charm and humor, I think, too. That it's a little bit wacky. That you're a bad guy, or you're bad to them, and you're going to be executed or be held captive forever, and yet you're running around doing little kind of chores for them.
Putting their ship together.
Right?
Like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, we sprung a leak. We can you go and patch that hole? Like, yeah, no problem. I'll go and do that for you. Right? It's very cute and funny. Actually, I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's a good thing you're here. Otherwise, we would have sunk.
Yeah.
But yeah, so of course your ship takes on a lot of water, it crashes, you find yourself on an island, and you meet a few people right off the bat, and it's like, hey, like, there's not really anything going on this island, okay, and then pretty much you get shipped off to Ferrowood, which is an island where you're going to be concentrating on sort of like a stereotypical, like, oh, we're going to go there, we're going to build up this farm, and we're going to, get vegetables, and that's sort of the goal, right? It's like, oh, we're going to build up this farm that was once great, but now that the builders are not allowed, this spoil soil, right? Or
that's
something.
Right. So something like that, yeah.
It's tough to say.
Yeah.
It's like that's taking over, and you can't grow on that. And essentially you get there, and you sort of like, okay, like, let me rebuild this one little area, and they're like, hey, why don't you rebuild that? And like, you're like, okay, I could do that. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we need these materials. And you sort of go off on quests, and then you come back, and, they do a really good job of, okay, there are going to be times when it's like, hey, here's some freedom to do, like, go talk to your fellow townspeople. And like, someone will be like, hey, like, I really would like a room of my own. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have any space to my own. Like, do you think you could build me my own house or my own room and put a bed, a table, and a sign in there that says it's my room? And you're like, okay, like, oh, okay, like, let me build this person a house. And then, of course, you can go as creative as you want. Or you could just literally make a square,
That's what I did. I mean, I solved those requests as quickly and as simply as I could. And yeah, my village probably looks like garbage afterwards. But if you're happy enough, or if it fills the criteria, then you can. That's a great thing about this game. You can make. I think it's furrow wood. Is it field?
It might be furrow field.
I think it's field because it's like growing crops, right? So I think that would make sense. But at any rate, like if you want to make that village that you're kind of repairing and you're helping all these people, if you want to make it immaculate, if you want to make it beautiful, like you might do in Minecraft, you can go ahead and do that, but you're not obligated to necessarily, right? You can just do the bare minimum, fulfill the objective, fulfill their quest, and give them a room, give them a, you think at that place you build a toilet at some point, you build like an inn maybe for them to stay in, you build all these little buildings, and they don't have to look beautiful. You can just put them together with the material that you have or the material that's nearby, and I think that's one of the great things about Dragon Quest Builders too, is that you can play the game how you want to as well. So it has that freedom of Minecraft, but also the ability to do things in an easy way or a simple way if you want to, right? If you just want to see the story and just kind of get from A to B, you can do that. You're not overly restricted. There's a couple of buildings where you have to follow kind of stricter blueprints, but that's not rare. That's not the majority of the game. Those are only they only come up kind of at the end of each island. Yeah, they're big set pieces that take place like once per island or once per land that you're visiting, right? It's not a major part of it.
And what's cool with those blueprints is it literally like slaps it right down there. When you go within like the boundaries of what that building will be, you hit the minus button, and it literally could show you level by level, or you could like, oh well, where's this material go within the blueprint, and it'll show you right there. And what's cool about that is it sort of gives you a glimpse, like, hey, if you want to make more complex building that looks really cool, like you could sort of see how we go about making this one, and it looks really cool, and and then if not, it at least puts one cool building in your town, right? Like if you're just making little blocks on the rest of them.
I never thought about that it's kind of training you to build three-dimensional structures if you want to, right? Or like major three-dimensional works. So when you get back to what's the Isle of Awakening, where that's kind of the main island where you start off as, and that's kind of your blank slate, right? You can do whatever you want there within reason. Or I think that's the place where you do the multiplayer and everything as well. So the islands that you visit, where you're kind of recruiting people to come back with you, you also learn a lot there about how to play the game and how to do different activities on your own base island when you get back there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for me, like I said, we won't go too much into spoilers. I'm on the second island, and like I said, I don't want to spoil exactly what's going on there, but it is drastically different than that first island, the objective. So it's not like you're like, oh well, now I'm on a new island and I'm building up a farm again, They sort of shake it up, and I'm really excited. There's 4 islands outside of the hub island, right?
I'm not 100% sure. I think so. The problem was the embargo for the review was very strict, and I couldn't talk about after the second island. I believe the third one's called like Moonbright or Moonlight or something like that. And I wasn't allowed to talk about that part and forward. So I basically had to write the review after finishing the island that you're on right now, the second one. So I'm not sure exactly how much is actually left of the game. I put in so many hours just trying to finish the review and finish those first 2 islands off really quickly before the game launched that I'm kind of taking a little bit of a break from it. I'm definitely going to come back, but I'm not sure exactly how much is left after the second island. There could be another one. There could be 2 more. It's
what a weird embargo.
It was really weird, really, really strict. They didn't want you to talk about. There's boss fights. Like every island has a boss fight, which is really cool. I wasn't allowed to talk about that in the embargo for whatever reason. Even at when the review came out, I guess it was like a day before the game launched. And the funny thing is the game's out in Japan, so I didn't understand why.
Yeah, you can literally YouTube and find out all of this information, I'm sure.
Yeah, you can see how long the game is.
Entire thing.
That's right. Yeah, I'm sure there's playthroughs of the game and the bosses and all that stuff. But one thing I really love about the game is that it sets up so that everything you're doing is progress. Everything you're doing fulfills some kind of criteria, right? You're always building up meters or learning new recipes or gaining levels or gaining new followers. Like, you're constantly rewarded. I think it just nails that RPG element of feeling like the work you do is meaningful. And that's why I'm so high on this game, because everything you do gives you purpose. Everything you do is rewarding. And I don't think you get a lot of games like that these days, where sometimes you might have to grind and grind and grind to get something positive or some kind of result, and then you don't feel that great about grinding because it took you forever to just get a little bit of something, But this game is always giving you a reward, always giving you some measure of accomplishment. And that's just one thing that I really, really love about this game.
All right, so I just did a quick Google search,
There you
and
go.
it looks like Moonbrook is the final of the main islands.
Okay.
So you've got
that's
the
last
Isle of
one there.
Awakening, which is the one you can really have free reign. Then you've got Ferrofield, Crumble Dun.
I think if you pronounce it quickly without worrying too much about the pun, you'll get it. Crumble Dun, yeah.
Crumbledon.
Like kind of like Crumble Down, right? Because it fits with that theme.
Yep. And then there's also Explorer Islands, which are sort of like randomly generated, right? Where you can go get like materials and stuff for your main island, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not sure if 100% if they're randomly generated, but
they're definitely randomly generated.
Are they? Oh, that's cool. Okay, so I didn't even know about that. I've explored one, and you go and you get materials at those islands that you don't have on any of the other islands. So, for example, there's a small one, I think just after you finish Furrowfield, you leave there and you go back to Isle of Awakening, and they say, "Hey, we need a chicken. We need some eggs. We got to eat." So you go to the Smile Explorer Island. You bring back a chicken, and then when you bring it back, it starts laying eggs, and everyone gets to eat, and you get new recipes to cook that have eggs in them and stuff like that.
Breakfast burritos.
That's it, right? It's got to be one of the recipes. Might be DLC though, but right. Yeah, but no, Casey, I'm so happy to hear that you were really enjoying the game because it was. I think we both went into it with the same kind of apprehension, like, oh, I don't know if I like this kind of game. And I played the first one on Switch, and I probably played about half of it, and I thought it was okay, but I didn't like how every island was disconnected. Like you finished one. Let's say there's 5 islands in the game. You finish one. And then you beat it, you don't really go back. You go to the next island, and then you kind of start from scratch. And I didn't love that idea of kind of starting over again. You know, I've kind of felt defeated by that. But in Builders 2, you never start from scratch, really. I mean, you kind of do, but you get everything back eventually. Like you kind of remember all the recipes, or you at least when you get back to the main island, Isle of Awakening, everything kind of comes with you, and this becomes like this huge playground for you. So yeah,
you bring people back from those islands, right? You know, as you're going out, you're bringing people back with you, so it feels more connected. But yeah, I want to just double back a little bit on what you said about how everything feels really rewarding, and it's so true. It's like you go out and you do one thing, you come back, and then So essentially, as you please and do things that your other villagers appreciate, they drop little hearts on the wherever they are, their gratitude points or whatever. And as you collect gratitude points, you eventually can level up. That brings more people to your town, and it gives you more capabilities as a builder. So you unlock new patterns and stuff, and it's just super rewarding. Like everything you do, like you said, I've made a room. That made someone really happy. They came over here, and they all come, and they showered you with gratitude, and everyone's so happy, and then they go back to doing what they were doing. And then all of a sudden, you put certain pieces of furniture in that room, and now all of a sudden it's a different room. So what's really cool is, for instance, like you said, with like the inn, I had someone's like, we want to make a dormitory. It's got to be a really small room with 8 beds,
right?
And like 3 pots and a sign. And I did that, and it was just like a regular. And I was like, "What's going on here?" And I realized it was too big, so I had to make it smaller. Which is weird.
The exact same thing happened to me with that. I'm like, why isn't this? Why aren't they happy with this? Why am I not checked off the box yet?
We're not on top of each other. Dang it!
Yeah.
But like, so there was one in the first area. You build a kitchen, and then it's like, well, put in like some of these rustic items, and then it became like a rustic kitchen. So in my new village, I was like, okay, I want to make like a restaurant almost. And I was like, let me see how I could do this. So, I put a bunch of fireplaces in there or campfires so food could be prepped. And I was like, all right, I'm going to get like 3 chairs, 3 seats, and like plates for each table. And I put that in there, and all of a sudden it became a kitchen diner. And, everyone was super happy, and they could go in there and they could prep the food and then eat at the table. And, the game didn't tell me about that, like they'd hinted like, oh, you could put certain things in different rooms and it'll change what it is exactly. And then they sort of let you, explore with that. And you can go to like the Builderopedia, I think it's called.
Something like that, yeah.
Something along those lines. And you can see like rooms, and there are just an absolute ton of them, like a stupid amount. So there's definitely a lot to play around with and explore, and it's just so good. And it's funny. I was watching Bobby, the Nintendo guru, was doing a little streaming of builders, and like I looked at his. He was on the first island there, Pharaoh Field.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to call it Farrowwood. And I'm like, oh man, he really he adjusted the landscapes of his town. So in the first area, there's like a tree in the middle that you're trying to grow, and there was like a moat around it, and like he filled that in, and at like the first island, I was very like, well, I'm just going to build buildings within the confines of what is presented, so where there were like hills and where there were stairs and whatnot, like I just sort of worked with that. Where in the second one, I'm sort of like, okay, I'm going to like plan this out and make it a little more aesthetically pleasing. And like you said, generally Minecraft-y games, right? I'm like, whatever, let me just build this and get out of the way. Where here, I'm actually sort of falling into that, well, like, I want to make this look cool. Like, I'm not saying I'm making, crazy, awesome buildings. That is certainly not the case. But, like, I'm trying to put little, like, I'm using different materials on the corner of the house, so it looks a little different, so it's not just all one straight set of, blocks. And just to give it a little, flair here and there. And it's just, usually that is not something I fall into, but the way it's presented in Builders 2, it gives you that freedom. You can spend as much time in there, or, like you said, as little time doing those side things, and then you get back to the missions. And it's just, seriously, like, I need to look back at the games this year, because it's been a weird year. So it's like the front half, I need to look back. Like, I know Resident Evil 2 Remake's up there for me as far as top games of the year, but like I seriously cannot believe how much fun and how much I'm loving Dragon Quest Builders 2. It is really just like, wow.
It's very rare that a game comes out in Japan, maybe 6 months, a year ago, whatever it is, and then it comes to the West, and I pick it up, and I'm like, wow, like, I'm so shocked how much I like this, or how good it is. Like, generally, like, I would be aware of the game, I would, like, kind of check it out, and be like, oh, I'm really looking, this should have been a game I was looking forward to a lot. But again, I guess because I was just soured a little bit by the first one, that I just kind of ignored, any of the reception or any of the reviews or people talking about the Japanese version. And so when it came here, I was just so surprised by the quality of life features that are in this game, that they've really, really taken the things that worked in the first one and made them better, and the things that didn't work, they just took them out entirely. And they made what maybe on the surface looks like a very similar game, but plays so much better. I think the gameplay is worlds better here.
Didn't you have to switch between your sword and your the hammer for building, like with actual, like they were tied to the same button? So when you were out battling, like you had to do a switch. Which, when you're out building or collecting materials, like you can run into enemies pretty quickly. So I could see having to like switch out, that would be such a pain in the neck. But now they're separate buttons, which
I'm not 100% sure if that's one of the things. I mean, it might have been. There's a bunch of dumb quality of life stuff. Yeah. One was, you remember, you're playing Builders 2, and there's the orbs that kind of function as waypoints or fast travel points, and you just activate and then you go to it. So
the Naviglobe.
What Builders 1 had was these orbs that you pick up, and you just you pick them up and you walk them somewhere, and I think they serve as like a beacon, or maybe they're meant to be like markers, so that they kind of mark your place or something like that.
Oh, so
I don't even know if you can fast travel to them though.
I don't think you can. I think that was a newly added feature as well.
Yeah, you actually had to craft like these feathers that you would use. I think they're feathers from like a Dragon Quest series. I don't remember what they're called exactly, but they're feathers that let you teleport back to like a town. You had to craft them in the first game.
Oh,
and so
man.
that was really annoying, because you would always run out of them. And you'd have to go and like find this one specific enemy, these griffin type enemies, kill them, get their feathers, take the feathers home, craft like a big feather to teleport you places. And it's just so cumbersome to do all that stuff. But this game, everything is expedited so that you get right from the fun parts to the next fun part, right? Like you don't have to do a lot of time crafting kind of stupid stuff just to play the game. Anything you craft is basically to fulfill a requirement almost, you know?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I mean, we could probably keep going on and on about this game because it really is great. I'll just touch on something real quick before we move on. There is combat. It is pretty simple. You know, you're like hit A, and you can hold A down to do an attack. You might be able to get more abilities as you move on, but that's what I've got open to me at the moment. And, you know, you upgrade your sword sort of as you keep, like, new materials come in. Like, oh, hey, now you can craft this new sword. I just got, like, I can make chainmail, I believe, now.
Yep.
Yeah, the combat and you know, dealing with enemies is sort of like a side, you know, like it's there. It's not sort of the focal point. Like you said, at the end, I mean, I haven't, like you said, I'm still working through Island 2, but there was a boss at the end of the first area, and it's like, it was fun, like I liked it, but it wasn't like hard, you know what I mean? It wasn't something that like you're going to find yourself dying to over and over again. But you know, there are food items you can cook, like it's so sad. In the second area there's like these little rabbit creatures, and like you just beat them down and they die, and they make like the worst, like, oh, it makes you feel horrible. But they pop out meat which you can cook up, and then you can increase your attack power. And you do need to eat food to keep your person hungry, or not hungry, full, if you will. If they need stamina to actually do stuff, but there's so much food that I mean, there are times when I'm like, oh, Casey's absolutely starving. I'm like, oh crap! All right, let me just hammer X a few times, eat these, and I'm back on my way. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll have to try some online play at some point just to see how it is, and all that jazz. But yeah, you guys, Dragon Quest Builders 2, ooh-wee! And I'm pretty sure there is a demo, so it's
there's a demo. Yeah. I think your progress carries over too, so there's no excuse. Just try the demo. If you don't like it, then maybe check out a couple of reviews and just see if that'll change your mind. But it's a fantastic game, and I think people that think it's not a game for them, you're listening to two people right now on this podcast that might have said this game is not for them. And we both love it, so.
Yeah, like I said, it does a really nice job of mixing and holding your hand, quote-unquote, holding your hand long enough, you know what I mean, to keep you going in the right way, but giving you enough of that freedom. I know I keep saying, as we go. Last thing, load times. Now, luckily, I feel like the game loads up the entire island and then just lets you do whatever you got to do, because the fast traveling isn't too bad. But yeah, when you fire this game up, you're gonna wait like a minute.
Yeah, I wonder if it front loads all the loading times at the beginning just to create all the islands, and so that when you get there, there's no loading. It's a little bit smoother. I'm thinking that is kind of a nice thing, right? Yeah,
that must be. I almost wish it was like, hey, we're loading the entire island. Just wait a second, because they are staggeringly long in the beginning. But there is like online photo sharing that pops up during those times sometimes to like to look and see what other people are doing. So
yeah, they did kind of cover up the loading a little bit with that, which is nice. What I want to do, Case, is when you finish the second island, let me know. Then I'll hop back in and we can tackle that third island. Not necessarily co-op, but we'll play it at the same time.
We'll be able to discuss it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun. So we'll have to do that. Cool.
Well, if my next couple play sessions go anything like last night, where I was jumping in for 20 minutes to half hour and 2 hours plus later, it shouldn't probably be. Dude, I seriously, Saturday, I must have played like a good 6-7 hours. It was crazy.
Yeah. That it's again. I think it's always the mark of a good game is when you think you've played or you plan to play for an hour or something and multiple hours fly by. That only happens with really special games, I think, right? So
Who knew? Mm-hmm. But speaking of really special games, you've been playing another doozy.
Yeah, I've been trying to juggle these back and forth a little bit. I've really been trying to get this down, get this finished. So up on our YouTube channel, NWR TV, I've been putting up in blocks of 10 the Mario Maker 2 story mode. So I've just got the last batch of stages done here. So you'll find the stages go up to 90, and then there's a bunch of extra ones. So I'm gonna have up to 90. Up to 90 will be posted on YouTube as of tomorrow afternoon. So you'll be able to find the first 90 stages all ready to go. If you want to have a look at those, or you jump around, I've got timestamps for all of them. But yeah, I've been playing through the story mode, and you know what? It's hard to not love a Mario game, right? Like these are stages that are made by Nintendo, and they're really fun. And there's a couple that are short, there's a couple that are really long. Some are really challenging, some are really easy. It kind of runs the gamut, this story mode. But what I've realized, and I know other people have been saying this on social media, is the story mode is basically a really, really long tutorial for how to create levels. It's meant to inspire you. I think it's fun, but it's not as good as something like Mario Brothers 3 or Super Mario World, right? Like those kind of fully crafted games with like longer stages and themes and everything. Like those are
different areas.
They're all-time games. Like we're never going to forget those. The Mario Maker 2 story mode levels, you're probably going to forget those because they're meant to teach you how to make your own stages. You're supposed to take what you play and experiment with it, right? Like maybe take one of the story mode stages and say, hey, what if I did this? What if I changed the water to lava here? Or what if I made this a winter theme instead of a desert theme or something, right? Like you're meant to be creatively inspired by playing the story mode. So in that way, I think it's a huge success. I think it gives you a ton of ideas about how you can create, what you can do, all the new mechanics that have been introduced in this sequel, right? Like there's so much different compared to the first game. And the first game, it had maybe I want to say like under 50 story mode or kind of Nintendo created levels. Casey, do you remember?
I don't remember offhand, but yeah, it definitely felt more like oh crap, we should probably put some homemade levels on, like our own levels, you know what I mean, to give people something to play like right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. I think they were there. You just unlocked stuff. I think you played them in unlocked pieces or something like that, right? Or maybe you unlock stuff by creating. I don't quite remember the first game as much, but yeah, the second game is definitely it's a showcase of the story mode. Anyways, is a showcase of all the new things you can do, and I imagine that almost every new mechanic is shown off across the 90 plus stages. What happens is, while you're playing you don't have to play them in blocks of 10. There's also you're taking on jobs which give you coins, and you spend the coins to rebuild Peach's castle. And while you're doing that, you also get kind of side missions that are thrown in, like maybe the Toad chief who is helping you rebuild the castle goes missing, and you have to go and rescue her or something like that. Or you talk to like a dog or a frog or a bird, just these funny creatures that are kind of scattered around, right? Yeah, the eraser. You talk to him and he gives you levels. They kind of give you levels to beat, and then it opens up like a new segment where you can find a few other side missions. Some of those are actually, I think, the best levels in the game.
Oh, so I feel like those were...
Right?
Yeah, I feel like the main, like where you get those jobs from the main Toad, like you said, it felt very much like, okay, this is like sort of showing you the way, right? Like here are some clever ideas, where I feel like the side characters were more like, hey, like here's this idea and we're gonna really sort of ramp it up a little bit, and like you said, you start to see a little bit more complex and more difficult levels, which just end up being more fun.
Yeah, I thought they were more fun too. I think they're definitely more challenging, some of them. There's ones that are given to you by the dog. Undo Dog, I think is his name. Its name. And the stages that it gives you are super, super tough. Like I think there's 3 of them, and they get progressively harder, and man, those are brutal. But you don't find that same kind of difficulty kind of generally in these the 90 story mode stages, the numbered ones. So it was fun to kind of explore the area. There's not a lot of exploring. You're just kind of walking around, but you complete the jobs, you open up a few new areas, and then you find these more fun, more memorable just stages that seem to stand out. They seem to be more creative on Nintendo's part. They're not exclusively meant to showcase something. They're meant to be just really fun, new, unique Nintendo-produced stages. So that's definitely something people want to do. After you've beaten the story mode proper, make sure you explore around. There are some stages that you complete just by talking to some of the characters there that I think are definitely worth playing. And I'm gonna try to get those up by the end of the month. I'll play through all those. I'll throw them up on YouTube. So if you miss one or you're not sure how to get through one, you can always check that out. There was one thing I wanted to note about playing through the stages. If you die on a stage 3 times, Luigi pops up and he says, "Hey, do you need help? Like, are you a loser? Like, if we go,
screw you, Luigi.
What's wrong with you? Like, why can't you beat the stage?" He's obviously not as much of a jerk, but he pops up and
that smile.
Yeah, he's ready to give you a hard time, but he can let you alter the stage. He can let you add an item, like add a superstar or add a mushroom or a fire flower. So you can kind of, if there's a hard part you can't beat, you can bring up the menu to add items to the stages, and you can add some limited use items. What I also realized is he can beat the stage for you. You can just say, "Luigi, I want you to do it," and then he'll run through the stage. It won't show you him beating it, which I think is a miss. I think Nintendo should have shown, had Luigi just play the stage for you. I think that would have been cool.
Yeah, but at least then
right?
you could sort of, like, if you're having trouble with one area, you know what I mean? Yeah, you'd be able to sort of, oh, well, I didn't think of that, like now
That's
I can sort of go back with more knowledge.
They can show you how to do it, or if there's some of the stages are kind of like puzzle based where you have to find keys. Like, those aren't easy, like figuring out where you have to kick a shell or what kind of mechanics you have to use with some of the new items. Like, it's hard to figure that stuff out. So it would be cool if Luigi actually literally ran through the stage with you and just showed you how he would do it. But instead, it just kind of cuts to a black screen and then it says stage cleared, and then you can move on. So that I thought that was kind of lame, kind of a
get
misfire,
all the coins too, right?
I think you do. I only ever used it to.
You mean you used it? No.
Yeah, I know.
This guy stinks.
I used it on some of those tough stages because I wanted to figure out how many more there were going to be, and it looks like there's about 15 to 20 stages that aren't numbered. So there's actually quite a few. And so I used it there to see how many stages they were going to give me. The nice thing is, once you activate a stage, it goes to a big list, like your job list that Toad has. So once you've talked to one of the side characters around the map, and you said, "Hey, like I've got a new job for you," Toad will kind of record that there's a job, and so they all get listed there, which I think is kind of nice. So you can kind of just run around, talk to all the characters. You don't have to beat the stages right away, but Toad will have a big list for you, and you can always go visit him and then play all the hidden stages that you found. So that's kind of a nice thing that happens there.
Well, if you feel up to it, I'm looking here. Story mode, all jobs. So the world record speed run, 3 hours, 56 minutes.
Oh, man.
53 seconds are all jobs.
That's something. I'd have to look at my the amount of footage I have on YouTube for my playthroughs. Although I did fudge it a bit because I tried to cut out deaths because I obviously wanted to make the videos a little bit shorter. So if you have 4 hours, that sounds like a pretty good run. I think it normally takes about 8 to 10 hours, maybe a little bit more depending.
Yeah,
but
any percent, 1 hour, 48 minutes and 40 seconds.
Oh man, that's crazy. But I guess that any percent would be like to rebuild Peach's castle?
Yeah,
that's how they would use that?
That's what I would think, yeah, to roll the credits. Mm-hmm. Probably like, yeah, just, and okay. I assume they probably did some crazy routing to be like, well, this level is shorter and it nets you more coins, so you do this and that, and good old speedrun.
I've heard about that, actually. I heard about that there's some stages you just replay them because they're really short and you get a lot of coins from them, so yeah, they're the ones to do if you want to rebuild the castle faster, but you don't really get anything for rebuilding the castle, to my knowledge. Like you
get the credits, baby.
You get the credits, yeah. That's pretty much it. It doesn't really. I think it might unlock like a costume or something. That's one of the cool things about doing the side stages or the extra stages is that they all seem to come with some kind of like a hat or like a shirt or an outfit you can wear, and I guess you can throw those on in multiplayer to change your profile and the way your profile looks, right?
When you make level, like your maker.
The maker, that's right.
You could dress them up so when people look at your levels kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
that's right.
See your little guy.
That's the one. Yeah, so hopefully the like I said, the first 90 stages are on our YouTube as of tomorrow. So please check those out if there's a couple of stages you want to look at, or just wanted to get inspired by some of the levels. You can kind of pause and see the different elements that I ran through. I wasn't trying to do everything. I was kind of just trying to get from A to B, finish each stage. So I still hope to add the again extra 15 or 20 non-numbered stages. I will throw those up at some point, hopefully by the end of the month, but. Yeah, I almost need to take a break from the story mode because doing all the recording and playing through the stages like the last week or last couple of weeks has been a little bit draining. So I need some,
sure.
Case. I need some smaller games because like Dragon Quest Builders 2 and then Mario Maker 2, like it's been they're big. There's a lot to them. So I need some smaller stuff to kind of tide me over for a bit.
Well, speaking of smaller stuff.
Yes.
And if you like spending money.
Yeah, I do not. So, but go on.
We've got Dr. Mario World. For the not Nintendo anything, for the old iPhone.
iPhone. You're playing on an iPhone case. I'm playing on an Android.
Yeah, unfortunately, I still have an iPhone.
Do you? Yeah. Are you hoping to upgrade? Are you trying to get a new phone?
Well, I've got the 6S Plus, so it is old.
Okay. Yeah.
But it is still moving and working. So right now, I'm holding off until it just kicks the bucket. Like, because I have it paid off, right? Like, I don't have to pay any monthly fee on it. So,
gotcha.
So that's nice. But when I do need to get a new one, I believe I'm going to go for a Pixel.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, that's we're gonna have a review of this game on the site soon. Matt Z did a review for us, and I think he was also playing. He was playing on a Pixel 1 XL. So obviously, I imagine you're gonna get a newer one than that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I hope I don't need to get one for quite some time because, to me, phones are so stupid, right?
Here we go.
It's because not even like game wise, really. It's just like the appeal of having a new phone like wears off after like a day. You know what I mean? Like that's why I don't know. I know people are super into their phones and it's like I'm on my phone all the time. So I'm not saying like the device itself stupid, but I don't know. To me, I don't get too excited over new phones because like I said, it's like, oh, after a day or two, I'm like, oh well, it's just my phone. Like I can go on Reddit and I could take pictures, like whether it's a really nice phone or a crappy iPhone 6S Plus. But I digress.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Take us through Dr. Mario World here, because I know I think a lot of us on the site have been playing it, but I haven't heard how you've been feeling about it.
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't played a whole ton of it. I've gotten through like the first 20 levels where you're like there's no limit to how many times you could try them. I guess the tutorial area, if you will, and then it opens up to more puzzles, and then I started going through those, and then that's where they're definitely, I don't want to say like right off the bat, I'm not deep like I said, but they're more challenging than the easier levels, but they're not, still not too hard, but now they require hearts to use.
That's right.
And I believe these hearts, I think you get a heart every half hour or something.
30 minutes, yeah, that's right.
Along those lines, but you can only have 5 at a time. Which
no, you know what? That's not you. So the 30-minute timer will only go up to 5, but you can have more than 5 if you earn them through like an in-game reward. So if you open up like a treasure box and it gives you hearts, you can go higher than 5. Like I've had 8 at one point.
Okay, all right, that's cool.
So
then.
it'll never after you get to 5, it'll stop giving you ones every 30 minutes. But you can. There are ways to get more than that in the game. Not that you can get that many more, but it's possible.
I wonder if it if you find 5 in a chest, let's say, and you've got 2 from the half hour recurring. So now you got a total of 7. I wonder if it stops ticking that half hour mark. Like, no, well, you're over 5.
I think it does. I'm not. They got you again, right? Like I think that's the case. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I've only seen it count. I've only seen the timer count down when it's under 5. So yeah.
Dirty. Yeah, so essentially you're going through these puzzles, and the game itself is cool, right? It's sort of like a reverse Tetris, as it, instead of coming down the screen, you're working up the screen, and you need to eliminate all the viruses by getting 3 in a row of the same color. Sort of obviously like Dr. Mario. And yeah, I mean they're cool. Like there's some shells out there. There's bombs. So like if you get a line in a row with the shells, then the shell shoots across the screen, taking out whatever's in its way. Bombs blow up in the area and take out different viruses and blocks. And I mean it's intuitive, right? It's a match 3 game on a phone, so it's like you just move your viruses and your blocks with your hand, and it's super easy. And I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, I've just periodically picked it up, played a little bit here and there, and then I'm like, all right, well that's that. I mean, I guess it's sort of egregious, the pricing a little bit, right? So you could buy 5 hearts for 10 diamonds, and then you can get 60 minutes of infinite play for 30 diamonds. Now, you can buy diamonds, 20 diamonds for $1.99, 53 diamonds, which is 50 plus a 3 bonus for $4.99. So if you wanted 60 minutes of infinite play, you'd have to buy $5 worth.
Yeah.
And then that would give you 1 hour of play, unlimited, which, I mean, I guess if you're really into the game and you're like, well, I got an hour to do nothing, like $5 might not be that crazy to you, but I mean, I used to compare I'd be like, especially like I think back to the 3DS eShop, where like some of the smaller games like $4, $5, $6, $7, right? And I'd be like, well, if I were to go out to the bar tonight, I would spend $5 on a single drink, you know what I mean? And then I'd probably end up buying like 8 of those or something stupid, you know what I mean? And then when I on Long Island, dude, if you'd go out, $60 minimum is what you were spending.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, and if you were lucky, you came home with 60, only spending 60. Then you get drunk, and all of a sudden you're buying people drinks from high school you haven't seen in years, and you're hundreds of dollars out of the pocket. But yeah,
I mean, Vancouver's the same way, right? It's a pretty expensive city, and if you go out, it's going to be pretty expensive. And I've tried, I'm not as young as I used to be, and I don't really go out that much anymore, like go out drinking too much. And I mean, that's one reason. It's too expensive to do that. It's a lot cheaper to drink at home,
Oh yeah, it's so funny having turned 21 in college. So it was like, oh, the bars you go out, and it's amazing. I buy 1 pitcher for $8.
Yeah.
And like, you know what I mean? You buy 2 of those for you and like a friend, and you're good to go for the night,
Sure.
And then like, I remember like a Tuesday night, during summer, it was like early summer, like me and my buddy went to like the local bar. We're like, a couple of Coors Lights, and it's like, all right, that'll be $10. I was like, oh God. I was like, $10 would, like, I'd go out with $10 in my pocket in college, and you know
That's
what I mean?
right. That's right.
You were good to go. But yeah, so anyway, jumping off the rails again.
Well, I'll bring us back here because I've played a lot of Dr. Mario World. I played almost every day, probably every day since it came out. I'm up to about stage 90 or so. And I also have, and I'm going to brag about this for all the NWR staff that are listening. I'm also the number 1 ranked of all of us in the versus mode, and my score is above 1,000. So you started about, I think you start at score 400 or something like that. And if you win, it goes up 30. If you lose, it goes down like 20 or something like that. So we got
a celeb on the cast tonight.
That's right. I'm calling out Neil, and I'm calling out Justin specifically because I think they're second and third place behind me, but they're way behind me now. So gentlemen. Yeah, pick up your game there. But at any rate, there's a couple cool things I wanted to point out about the game that I do like. Every time you complete a stage after the first 20, so after the first 20, it was unlimited, and then it starts costing you a heart per level. Hearts are basically your stamina. Every time you complete a level for the first time, you get a heart. So you can actually play a lot of stages, and if you're good at it and you're completing the stages, you're figuring out the game, you can go through 20, 30 in a row without having to worry about the stamina falling or running out of time or having to buy more hearts because you're getting a new heart every time you beat a stage.
So so you're saying get good?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I don't know. As someone who hasn't played a ton of Dr. Mario, I don't find the game that challenging. I think it's really fun, and I think that there's a few quirks that you need to figure out. Like once you, let's say you've got a block that's 2 yellow pills, and you put it in the middle of 2 yellow viruses. if you put it so that it's horizontal, you'll have all the Dr. Mario pills are split into two pieces, right? So if you put it in the middle of to create a 3 chain, you'll have one piece of pill left over, and you can actually move that anywhere on the screen. You can kind of just put your finger on it, and as long as you're still going up, you can go left or right. You can put it behind barriers, behind blocks, wherever there's an opening. You can move those pills around. So there's a strategy to saving your extra pieces of pills and just manipulating them around the screen. And once you figure that out and get good at it, you can get pretty far in the game without needing to retry stages or without failing a stage, you know? I meant to ask you, Casey, who did you start with? Who was your doctor?
I grabbed Bowser.
Okay, so I grabbed Peach, and Bowser's one I unlocked. One thing I don't love is that the unlocking of characters is really slow. It costs 4,000 coins, and I've only unlocked 2 characters, and you can unlock assistants that give you, maybe they give you more points or they help you in the versus mode. You can unlock assistants like Goomba or Koopa Troopa or Boom Boom, maybe Lakitu is one of them, but there's different little, Mario villains or enemies that you can unlock as assistants, and they kind of help you out along the way. But every time you spend 4,000 coins, you're going to unlock either a new doctor or an assistant. Or you might find a duplicate. And if you find a duplicate, it actually powers up one you already have. So I found Peach. I started with Peach, but I found her again when I bought a new character with the coins, the in-game coins. And I got Peach again, and so I powered her up to level 2. So now what she does, when I play versus mode with her per special power, you build up like a power meter, and then you can activate it about halfway through depending on how many viruses or blocks you put together. Her power initially was to eliminate one full column of viruses and pills and blocks. Now that I've powered her up, she eliminates 2 columns of blocks in versus mode.
Oh, man.
So I think that's one of the reasons why I've been able to do so well in versus is when I get her power, I'm jamming that button because it's really strong to just, whatever pill, whatever the layout is, if I've screwed something up, it helps me get rid of some of those garbage blocks or garbage pills or, viruses that are maybe in a bad spot for me. So there's kind of a neat... The gotcha mechanic is annoying, but it rewards you in a cool way for getting duplicates. My biggest concern is that it takes you forever to get 4,000 coins, or if you want to buy a new character, it's 40 diamonds. And I think you were saying that's about the equivalent of like $4 or $5. Is that right?
Yeah.
You said 53 for $5, I think, right?
Yeah, $4.99 for 50, and then they give you like a little 3 bonus for your troubles.
So if you want to buy a character, that's already 40 of your diamonds right there. So it's almost like $4 equivalent just to unlock a new character. So I find that if you were the kind of person who wants to play and unlock all the characters, I don't know how the heck you're going to do that just playing the game for free. But if you're someone who just enjoys the puzzles, and I think they get really intricate and difficult later on, like there's one I'm really stuck on right now. I think I have to play like perfectly to get it. I might need to even level up my character, or maybe get some new assistants or something to figure it out. But it gets really challenging. After say maybe stage 40 or 50, some of the stages get challenging, and I'm into the puzzles. I don't plan on paying any money for this game. I think you can get a lot out of it even without spending any money. So yeah, for those that are into the puzzle genre, the match 3 kind of thing. And like Nintendo stuff, I think this is definitely worth a look.
Yeah, doubling back to when you said that once you sort of clear a spot and then you have like the wayward half of the pill sort of falling, free falling. It's so funny they don't mention that. Or if they
don't.
did, I was gonna say if they did.
I think it's in one tutorial, but it might be later on. It might not be in the first 20 stages.
Because that was one where I was like, okay, all right, if I do that this way, then that's gonna fall down to there, and that might cause some issues, but whatever. And then it was only by accident I realized, like, wait a second, you can slide those loose son of a guns around, which definitely helps quite a bit.
You need that, especially in versus. Like if you want to, and I will say, I think the versus mode is actually really good because it takes like only a few seconds to get into a game. I've never had to wait that long. I have had
the online works.
Believe it or not, you know why it's working? Because it's not Nintendo Switch Online. That's why it's using your mobile network or whatever. But the online's pretty fun. I think the competition's pretty good. I think it matches you up. It always matches you up with someone that's about the same skill level or about the same kind of rating or ranking as you are. And I've only had a couple of disconnection issues, but overall it's been pretty solid. Doesn't take very long to get into a match. There doesn't seem to be much lag or anything like that. It seems to work pretty smoothly. So I think there's a surprising amount of fun gameplay here for. I've kind of bounced off all of the Nintendo produced or Nintendo licensed mobile games. Mario Run I didn't like. Fire Emblem I played a bit until I kind of hit a wall and then I stopped. And Dragalia Lost I didn't really care for. But this one I'm really enjoying. It's definitely my favorite so far, and I think people might be surprised by it.
I think it has the most broad appeal as well, right? Because
that's a good call. Yeah.
My mom could jump in and play this game and sort of probably be like, oh, okay, like I think people just like match 3 games, you know what I mean? So put a Mario character with some clever puzzles and wham bam, And
then I'm sure they're going to add more content, add more characters, maybe tweak the options for buying things. But if they keep adding story mode stages, I'm going to keep playing them. I don't know how many there are right now. Like I said, I'm around stage 90, and if it goes up to 100, okay. And if they release a DLC pack for $5 to get another 100 stages, I would buy that. I think the stages are pretty compelling. So yeah, it's a fun little game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I know it jumped right up to the top of the most downloaded, which obviously is sort of to be expected, right? But Nintendo releases a game.
I think that we knew about this one for a little while. There's a couple months where after they announced it, and then they did the thing where you can all register and sign up for it. They were doing those cute little virus videos on social media too. I don't know if you saw those, but I think the marketing was kind of cute and charming, and then it just kind of dropped. I think it's hilarious. I think it dropped a little bit early, right? I think it was supposed to come out on the 11th.
Yeah, I think
but
they were
a few days early.
The 10th, although maybe it was the 11th in Japan. You know what I mean? So
that could have been
probably what it was, but
sure.
But yeah, no, like I said, it definitely has some fun there, and if you're not too invested, then you know what I mean, and you waste your 5 hearts that you get, and you wait, however long, and you check back in, you can definitely do some damage without spending any money. So
yeah, it's almost good to take a break, and I'll tell you why. This game uses batteries like crazy. I don't know if that's been the same with your phone, but I know Matt. On Matt's Pixel and I've got a BlackBerry Key 2, which is it's a couple of years old.
BlackBerry.
I know.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, here we go. This is going to be lactose intolerance part 2. Where every time
although you bring the BlackBerry upon yourself, you had no choice over the.
I did. You're right. I chose to get it. I'll tell you why. I cannot for the life of me type on a touchscreen phone. I had a Samsung S6. I had a Samsung. S4 I think before that, and for whatever reason I just can't get good at it. I'm still fat fingering the buttons and always typing out errors and stuff like that, and I realized hey, 80% of what I'm doing on my phone is typing. If it's Slack, or if I'm sending an email or texting or WhatsApp. Why am I using this fancy phone with a huge nice screen and camera when I'm not even really using those features very much? So yeah, I said I went back to the BlackBerry, and I'll tell you what, I'm actually really happy with it. So I think I'm just a stickler for that keyboard.
Remember the good old T9?
T9, I don't even know if I had one of those. I'm trying to think what my first phone was, a Nokia. It was super tiny. I had a flip phone, a Motorola flip phone after that. I had a bunch of BlackBerries too,
right? That T9 is just you shouldn't be texting and driving ever, right? But
no.
But T9, it's you can keep your eyes right on the road. You could write out a novel if you wanted to,
I remember being really good at that, but then imagine the step up when you go from that to a BlackBerry with a full keyboard. It was hallelujah.
But then you had to look. Like that was the best part about T9. It was like you knew where those 12 buttons were,
Casey, that's the thing. I don't look anymore. Like I've had, this is probably like my fourth BlackBerry. After like my second one, I didn't need to look anymore.
Single-handedly keeping them in business.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I had to support the Canadian company for a while.
We got another order, boys.
Yeah, they have to dust off all the machines.
They're like, Jordan's ready for an upgrade, huh?
we got. It's gonna take us a week to boot up the factory here.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. No, I've been happy with it, and I know that there's not a lot of people that have them anymore or anything like that. And but it actually runs. The game runs pretty well on my BlackBerry, aside from just the battery. I was gonna say the battery drain is pretty heavy on my phone and Matt's phone as well. Same thing on your iPhone?
Yeah, I mean, my battery's pretty crappy as it is.
Okay.
So, I mean, it definitely goes down, but it's also could just be that I definitely have an old phone, so.
Sure.
But it doesn't surprise. I think I heard someone else say that as well, so it's probably a pretty common thing, because it's probably, Nintendo's got 8 different things going on in the background, and all of a sudden
hopefully they'll optimize that or figure out, release some patch to make it better. But that's my biggest complaint right now, is just that if you play for 30 minutes to an hour, that's going to be a big hit on your battery. So just something to be aware of.
Yeah, not only do you lose all your hearts, you lose all the battery.
That's right.
Well, that was a nice, healthy. I was like, I wonder how long we'll go with this. What we've been playing, because I figured Dragon Quest might eat up a bunch of time, but we got healthy convo in all games there on all fronts.
Well, this is the situation where we've except for the Messenger DLC, we've played all the other games. We've both played them, right? Like It's not just like one person or the other. Yeah.
And then, oh god, I can't wait to play more Dragon Quest. But anyway, we're gonna take a quick little breather. When we come back, we've got the eShop Roundup and the good old news block. Alrighty, we are back, and it is the new eShop Roundup time.
The eShop Roundup. Yeehaw!
And we've got a winner to announce. We were giving away a copy of Miles and Kilo, that the Mick Waits joint that was on last week. He was kind enough to give us a code to give away. And we've got a winner, Giuseppe M8. Over on Twitter is our winner. Congratulations. And it is another week, so therefore, we've got another game to give away. This week, we're going to be giving away Spirit Sphere DX. Friend of the show, Martino, and the Fabraz boys, they hooked us up with a code. Note, this is an EU code, so you will need to either live in Europe, or you can easily make a nice European account to download it. Very fun little game, worth checking out. So make sure to check out the description. We got a link to it right there. Just retweet, follow, all that good jazz. You guys know the deal by now. So we're done with the giving away spot. What game do you have? What's your pick of the week? What is your pick of the week?
So my pick of the week is a game called Lethal League Blaze. It is kind of like a fighting / sports game. Definitely got some cool multiplayer, some party or coach party game appeal to it. It's $19.99. I think it came out on Thursday last week. It's a very recent release. It's kind of a combination of squash, baseball, and dodgeball, and I'll tell you a little bit about each one. So it's squash in that you're hitting a ball against a wall, and you're trying to hit the ball into your opponent. Or it's like baseball because you can also pick up the ball and try to throw it at your opponent, or catch it if they throw it at you, and you can throw it back at them. And then, of course, because you're trying to hit the ball into your opponent, and every time you do, it does damage. It's kind of like dodgeball as well. So if your opponent hits it at you, you're trying to dive out of the way or jump out of the way, you can double jump. It's a 2D game. It's kind of a lot of style to it. It reminds me of something like Jet Set Radio, or even some of the art reminds me a little bit of Splatoon as well. It certainly doesn't play like that. It's again more of a multiplayer or a fighting game. But there's a free demo in the eShop, which is nice. You can try a couple of the story mode levels. You can see the tutorial, and you can also do 1 versus 1 versus mode in the demo. So it's definitely worth taking a quick look at it. I know that Joe reviewed it for NWR, and he was pretty high on the game. So we've already got a review on the site, I think, or coming up soon. You'll be able to check out. So yeah, check out the review, try the demo. It seems like a really kind of neat game, and I played the demo, and I'm tempted to get this game because I think when people come over, I think the 4-player would be pretty fun. Every time you hit the ball into an opponent, it damages their life meter at the top, and you're just trying to knock them out, basically. And you also have a meter that builds up like a special attack, so I think every different character has a unique special attack. I've only played the demo so far. But yeah, seems like a fun game, and one to burst out for if you've got a group of friends coming over.
Yeah, I definitely love the style of this game and the art style, like with the characters over the background. I mean, the backgrounds look really nice too, but the foreground, they sort of pop more vibrant colors. Yeah, I'm looking here. It says that you can play locally with friends and foes, by yourself in single-player modes, or battle it out online.
Oh yeah, I didn't even realize there was online multiplayer. So that's if the online runs well, that might be a good reason to pick this up.
Yeah, that might be something where maybe we can get a few people on staff. We should probably do our due diligence and make sure it actually works online.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would, like I said, I've seen some videos of this game, and it looks really fascinating. And if the online works well, I mean, that could be really fun to stream and play online with different people.
For sure.
Get like a staff league going. Maybe not necessarily a league, but you know what I mean. Get people playing, and that should be pretty cool.
I get the impression it's one of those games where like the single player is just kind of okay, and it shows you the ropes. But the meat and potatoes or the real fun of this game is going to be found playing multiplayer. So if you've got people that can come over for couch play, or if you can find the time to play online, this might be a fun one.
Yeah, definitely. My game, going a little not so bubbly and fun looking.
That's right.
This is Lust for Darkness. For $13.13, it's regularly $14.59 on sale until August 1st. So it's pretty nice, pretty long sale here, down $13.13. It is a psychological horror game, and it just looking at the screenshots, very atmospheric, very creepy looking. It's a story, I guess. It sort of has two different intertwining worlds and different psychological scares and whatnot. And obviously it's got puzzles and all that good stuff. Yeah, I mean, looks pretty cool. It is definitely an eerie-looking game, which is always... it's funny, because when I think of scary games, of course, growing up, I was always, like, Resident Evil, zombies, I'm afraid. But, like, having gone back and played, like, Silent Hill after the Resident Evil... Silent Hill is a scary game. Psychological is way scarier than, like, zombies coming to get you. The
games I was most scared by. I mean, this game actually looks really scary. A lot of dark, like not a lot of light in the environments. It's the games I was most scared by as a kid were PC games. Actually, I think of something like those first-person games where you're kind of a detective or you're doing puzzle solving. One that it comes to mind was called Seventh Guest, and you kind of go in this house that maybe haunted, or there were some murders that took place, and you're investigating the house, and all these kind of apparitions and ghosts pop up, and all these kind of screams and eerie sounds and stuff, and I'm like, maybe 7 or 8 years old at this point, and like it's not traumatizing, but I still remember the experience of that game, even if I wasn't playing it, even if I just watched maybe for like an hour. I haven't forgotten that experience because it is pretty powerful and scary. So this one looks like, if you're into horror games, this seems like it might be one give you a good scare.
Even a game like Myst, I remember back in the day, like it's not inherently scary, but there's just like a creepiness and like off-putting, you know what I mean? Like it's just weird. Yeah,
you feel like you're alone, right? Like there's no one else in that game. You're kind of exploring by yourself, and you worry that something bad could happen. Something could jump out at any moment. It does.
Someone's following me everywhere I go, and then you open those books, and like you get the weird. Oh god. Yeah, I remember literally my neighbor had PlayStation, so they had Resident Evil, and I remember like sleeping over their house, just petrified, like, oh god, the PlayStation's right over there with Resident Evil in it.
a lot of the experience that I had with Resident Evil with PlayStation, I played with friends. Like we'd go to sleepovers, and like our activity for the sleepover would be like playing through Resident Evil 2 or 3 together. And I really liked that because I didn't find them as scary when we were all together, or it was fun to be scared together,
in a group, yeah.
Like playing Resident Evil 3, like Nemesis like pops out of the wall and we're all like screaming and freaking out. But it's kind of fun when you're doing it together, It doesn't feel as like off-putting, or maybe you don't feel so lonely or something like that. So I did like those games, and I don't like playing horror games by myself. I would rather play them in a group. Like a few years ago we played Until Dawn on PS4. And
that's a good one.
Yeah, we played that through with my friend and his wife. And the great thing about that is there's so many places where you're making decisions. Like you're going, oh, should I go left? Should I go right? Should I help this person or help this person? And it's kind of one of those really cool things where like the timer's ticking down and like one person is shouting, no, go left. And your other friend is, no, go right. And you kind of have to make a decision at the last second. And I love that kind of experience. So
yeah, that game definitely seems... It's funny. Normally, when I play scary games, my sister likes to like hang out and watch. So it's like we both played together. So yeah, we played Until Dawn together. Yeah, so you had a little bit of that element of like, hey, you no, do this instead, and that game is really cool. I really like that game a lot, actually.
Me too. And, that was my favorite games I played that year.
I felt like it came out of nowhere too, and it was just like, oh wow, this game rules,
Their next game is coming soon too. Man of Medan, I think it is called.
Is it the same style?
It's same kind of like horror decision making or narrative type game. I think it's co-op as well, so that kind of lends itself really well to if you and your sister wanted to play together. I think that might be even better for you.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Until Dawn is very much like it's a scary game where you've got to make split decisions, and different characters will die or not die depending on those decisions. But it's also like a totally like a cheesy 90s horror movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
very, very much so.
So
yeah.
it's like
you're stuck in like a chalet on a mountain, and it's cold and dark and snowy, and the power's out or something,
or
right?
Early college friends like all hanging out and like partying, but then there's things. Yeah, it's really, really good. But good old horror games. I can't wait till Capcom either announces Resident Evil 3 or Resident Evil 8.
Yeah, Resident Evil 8, I feel like they're maybe going to do more remakes before that. I don't know, the remakes seem to be doing well for them, but...
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to
7 did well too, so...
7 did really well, and then, and then obviously, I mean, we all knew Resident Evil 2 was going to just demolish, especially
of course,
even if it sucked, I'm sure it still would have sold really well, but that game was amazing, so... I hope they sort of just like, well, we've got this engine, and like, obviously Resident Evil 2 and 3... like very similar looking games back in the day, so hopefully they could sort of take that engine and make it work. But anyway, we're jumping on all sorts of tangents here. Let's move ourselves over to the old news block.
News Talk with Casey Gibson.
Alrighty, we are into the news block here, and there's not a ton of news, but of course. It wouldn't be podcasting if the big megaton news dropped the day after you recorded last week, and that is the Nintendo Switch Lite has been announced. It is $199.99, so $200. It's got a real D-pad. It cannot be connected to the TV. It has a slightly smaller screen, 5.5 inch screen versus a 5.2 inch screen, or a 6.2 inch screen, excuse me. It runs 720p, similar to what the Switch does in handheld now. It has slightly better battery life, which you could probably thank the no HD rumble or no IR camera. And the smaller screen, obviously. So those are it's probably a similar battery, but it just gets a little extra juice out of it, right? Since it's not using as much. No kickstand, and it comes in a yellow, gray, turquoise, or a cool Pokemon Sword and Shield limited edition, and that is dropping on September 20th. So just about 3 months from now, 2 months from now, there are going to be Nintendo Switch Lites out there in the open. Jordan, what do you think of this bad boy?
I think this is the worst kept secret ever, Casey, because we'd all been speculating about this. The Wall Street Journal, 6 months ago, said, yeah, Nintendo's working on 2 new SKUs for the Switch. So we're all expecting like a Switch Lite and a Switch Pro, and so we've got the former. And I'm really excited about this, actually, because I like the idea of having a smaller handheld Switch to play. My wife's going to be playing this one. She'll play Animal Crossing on this, maybe Pokemon as well. I think that the Pokemon Edition one actually looks really great. I don't know if I'm going to wait for that, because I think the Pokemon Edition one doesn't come till November, kind of lining up with the Pokemon Sword and Shield launch. But yeah, we'll probably get Turquoise. I think that's the one we've kind of decided on. September 20th, I think that makes so much sense, because hey, September is the start of like 1 billion games coming out. So of course this is a good time to also release a new console or a new SKU for people to pick up. You've got it coming up for the holidays, so everyone's going to jump on this for Black Friday. I could see that Pokemon Edition one. I don't think it's going to come with the game, but because it's going to be a limited edition, right? I could see that one just flying off the shelves in November, right? So
and like you said, it looks really nice because on the back it's got the 2 legendary Pokemon sort of etched on there, but it's got that really nice like pink and blue, almost like baby boy and baby girl color buttons and
yeah, sticks. I like that. I like that when the Joy-Cons kind of have different colors to them. I know they're not Joy-Cons, but the controller sides of the Switch have the different colors. I think that's always neat, and it's cool to have those kind of find a console. I think it's going to be the same price. I think it's $199. I'm still waiting to see what the price is going to be in Canada. They haven't announced that yet. I'm
$4 million.
Yeah. I'm saving up $4 million to pay for it, but my hope is $249. My guess is $279, but we'll see what happens. At any rate, I still think it's the right price. The real D-pad is gonna be great. Dude,
if it's
there's so many games, right?
It's like we should just see how much shipping will cost to Canada, and I'll just buy it for you. If it's cheaper,
I think about the exchange rate, and I think if it's about $1 US is about $1.30 Canadian right now. I think so. 200 works out to about 260. So that's why
shipping, it's like the same.
It's
probably
about the same, yeah, exactly. So it'll just be interesting to see how they take into account the exchange rate. Like I said, it's $279 is what I'm expecting, but we'll see. Hopefully that'll be announced soon. Again, I'm really happy about the real D-pad. Disappointed about the not being able to connect to TV. Gotta say, I thought that might be a feature. I was guessing the Joy-Cons wouldn't come off. I think everyone was kind of thinking that, but I did think there'd be a way to connect it to your dock. So I'm a little disappointed. It's not a deal breaker, but I was hoping to see that. I guess they weren't able to make that work or something like that. So they seem to be going hard on that. This is just the portable one, right? Like we want to have an exclusively portable Switch SKU. So
it wouldn't. I mean, well, first off, I got to imagine, okay, how is this going to be the cheapest we could possibly get it, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe putting in that port to be able to, project onto the TV would be too much. Yeah. Plus, then it wouldn't fit in a regular sized dock, presumably.
Yeah, that's it, right? That the dock is designed to fit the Switch very specifically. And so it doesn't move around a lot in there. So this one's smaller across a bunch of different dimensions. So there was probably no way to make it work reasonably.
And also, a side thing is maybe they're like, well, we'll get people in the door here. They'll buy their Switch Lite. They realize, wow, this is awesome. I'm into games. And then maybe, they upgrade to a regular Switch so they can play in the TV, And then all of a sudden Nintendo's laughing to the bank twice.
Well, I mean, this is the main reason for the Switch Lite. I think it's now they've always talked about wanting to get multiple Switches into your household. And unless you're someone like David Lloyd who buys 2 regular Switches for his kids, I think a lot of
people
Mr.
Rocks over there,
right? I think you're waiting to get something smaller or something a little bit different. And there's people in the house that they want a smaller one, right? They want a portable one. My wife thinks the OG Switch now is a little bit too heavy, is a little bit too bulky.
It's too big and bulbous.
She's used to playing on the new 3DS, which is a really great size, and then the Vita, right, which is also smaller than a Switch. So I think the Switch Lite is going to be comparable to both of those. I saw somewhere that the weight of the Switch Lite is just slightly above a new 3DS, but slightly below a new 3DS XL. So it's kind of hitting that sweet spot for a portable console, I think. So yeah, I think it's gonna do really well. I'm really excited about this coming out. I'll be definitely pre-ordering this as soon as I can from my local EB Games.
Heck yeah, man!
And we'll see if there's maybe some kind of trade-in promotion or something. But yeah, I'm happy about this. No, I mean they always do upgrade ones, like trade your old thing. We'll give you a bump up or something, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I know for me, I probably won't be getting this. I think the way I would end up with one is if my girlfriend really falls in love with Animal Crossing, where it's like she wants to have her own town, I want to have my own town, we want to be able to you know what I mean, visit each other, where it'd be like, okay, well, instead of buying a full-priced, Switch, let's get the mini, or the Lite, I should say, and that would be something where it'd be like, well, all right, we'll split it, and then I could play on it too, when I don't feel like, but I really hope she loves Animal Crossing, because, yeah, I mean, just looking at the pictures, I think it definitely looks sleek. It like the colors, I really love the colors. Like, who the heck is who's getting gray is what I want to know.
Yeah, you know what? I ran a poll on Twitter. I think only like 20 people responded, but gray actually came in second. I thought yellow would definitely be the second most popular. So I guess we'll see what happens. Like when it actually releases and it's out in the wild, you'll get to see, what people are carting around with them. I think the turquoise looks really good.
Yeah, I think the turquoise,
they chose great colors here.
Turquoise is, I mean, I guess Nintendo's always sort of had a soft spot for that kind of blue, right? I feel like that blue crops up a whole bunch.
Yeah.
But man, the yellow, I don't like. If I were to really get one, I'd have to sit and think.
Yeah.
Because the turquoise is the easy, like, oh yeah, turquoise. But then I'm like, that yellow though, I bet you not a lot of people are gonna have that. Like,
no, I know, and I like the idea of having one that maybe not a lot of people have, which is why I'm tempted by that Pokemon edition, because I think it's gonna be, like I said, I think it's gonna be pretty rare, and it looks great too. They're all kind of soft colors. And I think it just looks it's very appealing. I think it's gonna have a widespread appeal for all different types of people, all different types of gamers, right? So
I can't wait to see this up against a Vita, because it's actually funny. Caitlin was like, "Oh, it looks just like a Vita."
Yeah,
like a proud boyfriend. I'm like,
Yeah, I hear you, buddy.
She's making video game connections. I love this.
That's right. Well,
like that one time when she walked over and I was watching Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer. Okay. She's like, "Is that Cloud?" I was like, "Yes."
And you're like crying.
I love you.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm excited about this. There's another cool thing that I don't think has been 100% confirmed, or it's kind of flying under the radar, but it sounds like if this is a second Switch for you, you can move all of your games over to the second Switch, or like you can let's say you've got a profile on your original Switch, you can download your profile on the Switch Lite, and you can play all your games on the Switch Lite. So as long as you're not playing the same game at the same time, I think you're able to kind of share that library. So, Nintendo hasn't always been the best at doing that. Like you might have multiple DSs or 3DSs, but you can't share the lineup.
And you're locked to one, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And I hated that about the 3DS, because I've got like 4 3DS family systems right now, but they all have different games on them because of the way that the sharing of things worked, so I should say didn't work. So it's really nice that with our second Switch, I can just throw all my games on my Switch Lite, and if I want to play it over there, I'll play them over there. If I want to play it on my OG on the TV, then that's not a big deal. I think Doug Bowser said on Twitter or somewhere about finding out some elegant solution for moving your saves over and moving your games over. So it sounds like they're working on something. It is still Nintendo, so always take this with a grain of salt. It might not be implemented that well. It might be a pain in the butt to actually do it, but it sounds like they are in the process of making that happen. So that's something to be excited about too.
Yeah, that would easily, like, say I wanted to get one of these, it would 100, like, regardless of whether Caitlin wanted to play it or not, like, I was like, I'm going to get one, it would totally be dependent on having that accessibility, because if I was going to do that, then essentially my other Switch would sit in the dock at all times, and I would play it when I'm playing on the TV. And then I want to be able to grab the Switch Lite and like have my saves instantaneously like be connected to my profile, and whether I log on the regular or the Lite, you know what I mean? That's where that shows up.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's like they need to figure that out if they want the I don't want to say the average Joe, because we're certainly not the average Joes, but like the hardcore enthusiasts that want to have both, like that's how you're going to sell multiple consoles, is if that use between the two is seamless.
Yeah, you can't pretend that, this is mine and that's yours and they're never going to come together, right? Obviously, if people are buying a second Switch for their household, they don't want to re-buy all their games necessarily, right? Maybe there's a couple games where you might like to have your own things together.
Like Animal Crossing, you'll have each have a copy, but then like
so you can play together or play at the same time, right? But other games like maybe I'm finished with Dragon Quest Builders, I want my wife to give it a try. Okay, then I'm done with that on mine. I throw it on the Switch Lite. She can play it now, right?
She totally should. Nice. It's a great game.
Yeah. I don't know that it's totally her bag. I think that Animal Crossing certainly is, and we're both really excited about that. So.
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah, I know she's excited about it. And if a Tomodachi Life ever came to the Switch, I know she'd be pumped about that.
We both played that as well, and we had a lot of fun with that too.
Oh man, that yellow is growing on me.
Maybe with the Switch Lite, we're going to see. Sorry, I was just going to say, like, maybe with the Switch Lite, we're going to see more of those kind of games, right? Like, maybe they were waiting to... I think it's one of the reasons why Animal Crossing might have gotten delayed, is so you can launch the Switch Lite, a bunch of people can get it, and then, okay, here's the game you're going to play next year with your Switch Lite. So maybe we will get a new Tomodachi Life, more those kind of casual games or easier, simpler games. We'll get some of those after this new console launches.
That would be amazing. I would certainly love that. But yeah, all I know is the Switch Lite is going to fly off the shelf, because Pokemon, then it'll have a resurgence with Animal Crossing, and oh baby.
Come on, how many people are going to buy Link's Awakening, that cutesy wootsy Link's Awakening, as you like to say?
And then they're going to buy their cutesy wootsy Switch Lite
same day, right? Like it's so easy. Like Nintendo's really good at that. They're really good at releasing a new console with a game that suits it so well. Like, you launch Switch, you launch Zelda the same day. Oh, guess what? Switch is the perfect console for Breath of the Wild. It's, Link's Awakening is going to be a great game to play. You're talking about a game that originally released on Game Boy, the first Nintendo handheld, and now you're getting the Switch only handheld SKU, and you're launching the remake of it. Like, come on, it's so easy, right? It's genius level here.
And then later that week, you could play Contra. You download the new Contra.
Oh, I know Neil's going to be playing that. So,
but even like a game like Dragon Quest, like I'm just like,
yeah, this will be great. Oh, it'll be great for Dragon Quest, right? Like, I don't know how often I'm going to be docking to play Dragon Quest. I want to play this game in bed. I want to play it.
And you want to
lying on my couch, right?
You were saying you want to play it in the pixel mode, right? Pretty much all the way through?
100%, baby. Like, I'm going to switch. I'm going to look at what the 3D looks like every time I go to a new place. I go to a new town, I'll quickly check the 3D, and then I'm back to 90% of my playthrough on the 2D. Like, I love that. And
dude, I can't wait to, like, I'm actually excited to see how it pans out for me. Because I'm definitely going, like, because the game looks wonderful, the new, visuals, but yeah, how nostalgic and just the charm of being able to go back to the 8-bit and be like, oh, whew.
Just comparing some of the stages or boss fights or things that happen in the game, comparing the 3D version to the 2D version would be, I've got an idea for a video now. Like, this is something we got to put up on our YouTube channel, is all these comparisons of Dragon Quest 11 for different segments of the game played in 2D or 3D. And
oh man, it's gonna be awesome.
September.
Woo-wee.
What a month, right? Like, a new console, like, week after week of awesome games and
football. Life will be good.
Don't. Okay, the podcast can go another hour if we start talking about football. Okay, so
that's the only bad thing about when football season comes. Like, my video game playing, because like Sunday is like monopolized by playing by watching football. So that's
a good point.
Oh, September's going to be hard to juggle, but
actually, I like one last thing about football. I like Monday night and Thursday night if the matchup's not that great, but I still want to leave it on the background.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I'm putting on the football and I'm kicking back on the Switch. So that's
on your
perfect.
Switch Lite, baby. That's right.
There it is.
All right. Now moving along, we've got that was the heavy hitter news for the week. We've just got some tidbits here. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is now the biggest title at EVO 2019 with over 35,000. Excuse me. 30.
It is definitely the biggest. 35,000.
Yeah. Could you imagine the pot bonus for that many people?
Oh,
3,500 entries. That's still enormous.
Yeah.
Man, and just think of all the pools. They knock it down to what, like 64 or whatever. I guess with that many, they probably even go bigger than that. But man, I love EVO. I love watching Smash competitively. You know, like especially the high end players. So a lot of players. Obviously, Smash is a big old success. And it's cool to see it just continue to do well in the competitive scene.
It sounds like these events are getting bigger every year, which is great. You know, it's video games gaining more legitimacy. People that play games professionally or put in so much time and effort to become really, really good at these games, getting more notice, getting more notoriety. You know, like I want to see these people do well. I want Smash Bros. Players to be on this world stage and everyone kind of cheering them on and stuff like that. And yeah, it's really cool that Smash Ultimate is doing well. I do want to get back to it at some point. My wonder is EVO is coming up soon. Is it later this month, Case?
I believe it's the first week of August.
Okay, because I wonder if there's going to be. I wonder if there's going to be the hero character launched around EVO. I feel like that would be a smart move by Nintendo to kind of pair it up with an event that so many people are going to be watching, where Smash is your biggest game. Why not announce some really big news? Hey, here's the new character you guys have been waiting for.
Yeah, let's see. It is August 2nd through the 4th.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see... Now, I wonder, do you release it right beforehand, or do you release it right afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, either way, I think you've got the buzz, right? You've got people talking about your game.
I guess if you do it right beforehand, then that's all that talk is continued into like all of the streaming, like, you know, during the matches, right. it gets brought up.
They can talk about it at the event, and anyone watching the event is going to be talking about that, you'd think. So, yeah, before makes sense.
And really, it's not that far off the release of Dragon Quest itself. Now, I wonder, maybe... I don't know if they'd want to get out and already... Because instead of, like, releasing a character... you know, maybe saving the release of the hero for truly, like, more, you know, closer to Dragon Quest, if they would reveal the 4th DLC character, because then that's megaton news, and then it's not, you know, releasing a character when, you know. But I don't know. I think they should be doing something.
Yeah, I think you have to release one of these 3 characters, or 2 characters, before you announce the next one. Like, and I think they said Hero is supposed to be summer as well, so we're kind of right in the middle of summer here, just before EVO, you know, peak summertime. So I think that before EVO or around it sounds like a good bet for the new character, but we'll see. We'll find out soon enough.
This next bit, I want to let you take this bad boy.
Yeah, so, you know, a long time coming, I think, but it sounds like Square Enix has finally fixed the FF9 music bug. So anyone who has been playing it on Switch, I think there's a patch you can download now, or anyone who buys the game from this point on, you should have the patched version of the game where there's no more music bug. The music won't just cut off when you're in the overworld and kind of restart or whatever. So that's a nice thing. It suggests that maybe Square Enix is going to, in the future, for more of these games that they're porting, maybe they'll take a little bit more care with them, or make sure they don't ship with kind of these annoying bugs with them. But yeah, that's a good thing. FF7, I think, also had the music bug fixed.
Yeah, that one was fixed a while ago.
Yeah, that was fixed before. So they kind of went back, and even though FF9 came out first, they've gone and fixed that music bug as well. So
they probably were like, well, more people are playing 7, so let's concentrate on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, sure, I mean, it's nice to see they finally went back to do it. I mean, these bugs have been known in these ports for quite some time now, so it's nice to see them working back and fixing it up a little bit.
Yeah, like I said, I think it bodes well for future releases that if there are bugs, they'll take care of them at some point, or if there are bugs, they'll fix it maybe before the game even launches. So yeah, kudos to them for finally making good on that.
Sweet. Now, we've got 2 more bits of news. This one, a new Super Monkey Ball has been rated in Taiwan for the Switch, also for PS4 and PC. That's you ever play Monkey Ball? Were you a Super Monkey Ball guy?
I'm not. I played a little bit of the one that came out around the GameCube launch. I don't know which one that was though, Casey. Maybe you
I
can
think
help
that
me.
was just straight up Super Monkey Ball.
Okay, so I think there's that one, and there's a sequel to it, and then this next one is called Banana Ball Blitz, I think. And it seems to be, just from kind of what people have been talking about today, it seems to be maybe the one that's a little bit less regarded, or maybe not as well liked as the previous two, but maybe still has a fan base. Maybe there's still people that are looking forward to this game. I saw a couple of screenshots. It looked pretty sharp. It looked pretty nice. So I'm curious about this one. I might take a look at it.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever owned Super Monkey Ball, but I remember playing it a lot on the GameCube, like you said, sort of similar. And yeah, I don't know. I actually didn't see the trailer. I'm looking at it now. But yeah, I mean, it was a fun game. I would be curious, like, if it would be like a... Yeah, all right. So it's coming October 29th.
Right, yeah, that's the same day as... Resident Evil 5 and 6, I believe, got announced today as well for that.
Oh, boom, there you go.
Throwing them all three together there.
Yeah. Which one's the best? Probably Banana Blitz.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the games were fun, and I'd be interested to see how they hold up, X amount of years later, if the gameplay would still be a lot of fun. But yeah, like I said, I enjoyed my time with Monkey Ball back in the day, so be something I might keep the old eye out on. And bringing us to the last point here, Jordan, this is some more good news, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We've got Monolith recruiting staff for 3 games. One, I think we're not surprised by, and that's Breath of the Wild 2. Another Xenoblade game, did that get confirmed, Case? Do we know they're working on a new Xenoblade, or are we just kind of speculating here?
I just saw this news said it was the new Xenoblade. I don't know if they've come out and literally said, like, hey, but, like, I think everyone...
we know there's going to be another Xenoblade game. They've done, each entry has done better than the last, I believe, and we got that Torna DLC, which I think, it was good enough, or they knew it was going to sell well enough to release it as a standalone. So the question now is whether that's Xenoblade 3 or if it's Chronicles X2. And I'll be frank, I kind of hope it's the latter, because I want to see what happens with the story in Xenoblade X. And I just loved the flying around and the scales in that game, and I'd love to see them kind of even do a little bit more with that, with the new Switch, the power that the Switch has over the Wii U. I'd like to see what they do with that. Just the exploration in that game was really fun. There's a lot about Xenoblade X that is kind of lacking, like the city music, for example. But
I forget the exact beats.
It's something terrible like that. But yeah. Maybe they'll hire Perry, and Perry can do a much better job of
good old New LA,
the town music. But yeah, I'd love to see a new Xenoblade X game. And then it sounds like they're going to be working on a new IP. I don't know if we have any details about this game. I'm trying to think back to something I may have read about it being more of a fantasy setting. Probably still an RPG. That seems to be their bread and butter, but maybe more of a fantasy setting compared to the more maybe sci-fi or the Xenoblade kind of themed ones.
Yeah, I'd be interested. Obviously, they've got they've built up such a pedigree with Xenoblade games that I would be very excited to see what they would do with just a brand new IP, you know what I mean, to go out there and sort of spread their wings and see what's up. But yeah, I love me some Monolith. And
yeah, I think that working on the Breath of the Wild, and then being kind of called upon, get the tap on the shoulder to work on the second Breath of the Wild game. I mean, that's really cool, right? That Nintendo obviously has a ton of faith in these guys, and they've put out a bunch of really, really fun games, and yeah, I can't wait to see what they have next. I think they've definitely earned
they're like the new
trust
retro
and benefit of the doubt. Sorry, Case, you're saying?
I said they're like the new retro.
Oh yeah, I mean retro who like
yeah. Well, I meant in terms.
I
of
get
like,
it. I get it. Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, when retro in their heyday with all the Prime games and everything else that they were doing, Luigi's Mansion, and now you've got Monolith just kind of hitting it out of the park with every game they put out. So yeah, they've kind of become that second party studio that is just really being relied upon heavily by Nintendo to. I mean, these Xenoblade games are basically Nintendo's RPGs, right? Like, Nintendo doesn't have a lot of first party for all intents and purposes RPGs. So these are their heavy hitters in that department. So yeah, can't wait to see what they do next.
Yeah, let's just hope to God they don't follow the same fate as Retro has.
Yeah, no, I don't imagine that that Nintendo would let that happen again, like with another huge studio. Like, yeah, that's a whole other podcast, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of the news. And that's also going to bring us to the end of the podcast here. Jordan, thank you so much for filling in for Perry as he's off doing baby things. And
yeah, we got lucky. My wife didn't come into the room and say that we need to go to the hospital. So good for another little while here, but happy to fill in, on any occasion. Obviously, Perry's gonna have his hands full for a little while, but yeah, if you need more help in the future, case, or I'm always happy to join you guys. We always have such a good time, and this was another fun episode too. But if Perry's busy or something like that, and you need someone to pitch in, just give me a tap on the shoulder, and if I'm not too busy, if I'm not in the exact same position that he's in right now, I'll see what I can do.
I was gonna say you two will be following similar. It'll be like you guys are playing Dragon Quest Builders together.
It is kind of cool,
building
right?
a baby.
It's a similar thing. Like we talked about playing Dragon Quest 11 together, and you and David playing Xenoblade 2 together. When you have kind of babies at the same time as your friends, you do share a lot of stuff, right? What do you do in this situation? What are you feeding them? What milestone are they at? Are they eating now? Are they talking now? You kind of talk about all those things. So yeah, that'll be a fun thing to do with Perry for sure.
Heck yeah. All right, so why don't you before we sign off here, tell the fine folks where they can find you.
Yeah, so please look me up on Twitter at Riskman64, RISKMAN64. I post all my reviews there. I'm often kind of chatting about games that I'm playing. I posted some thoughts on the Messenger DLC. I'm going to update that a little bit later today as well. Like I said, I was working on the Mario Maker 2 story mode playthrough. I've tweeted about all those videos. You can find those on NWR TV as well. And yeah, I'm going to be maybe a little bit quiet over the next couple of weeks, as our baby comes due, and I'm busy with that. But moving into August and September, there's going to be tons of games to talk about. So please hit me up on Twitter. I'd love to talk to you guys about games. Different podcasts I'm on, like the Thirsty Mage and the eShop Action Committee. And Casey is generous enough to regularly give me time on Talk Nintendo. So always have a blast podcasting with you guys too.
Heck yeah, man. Awesome. And for anyone interested, you can find the show on Twitter at Talk Nintendo Pod. That's Talk Nintendo POD. And you can also find us over on patreon.com/NWR, where we do all sorts of fun stuff. We've got exclusive podcasts. The most recent exclusive RFN just went up there. We've got a game night upcoming and all that good stuff. So you definitely want to check out over there. We are at $2.99, just $1 short from making a monthly Patreon stream over on Twitch. Speaking of which, this Sunday we will be doing Metal Mario Chef. Last week, with some scheduling conflicts and Perry having a baby, that we sort of got a little jumbled up. So instead of doing Metal Mario Chef, I just did a Mario stream with listener levels again, which was a lot of fun. But this upcoming Sunday, 9:30, we will be doing Metal Mario Chef, the first official episode for Mario Maker 2, and we're going to have Andre from Game Explained, so that's going to be really fun and definitely worth checking out. And I think that is pretty much all I've got to pimp out there. So once again, thank you, Jordan, for filling in. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will catch you next week on episode 149. writing down timestamps because I'm going to have to edit this sucker. Stupid Perry.
This video is made possible by our generous supporters on Patreon. Did you know that Nintendo World Report is funded directly by fans like you? When you support Nintendo World Report on Patreon, you get immediate access to multiple exclusive podcasts every month, exclusive Discord channels, an early look at select content, and more, all for as little as $1 a month. Check out patreon.com/NWR for all the details.